Here's Chapin into the end zone, and how about that swagger? Another touchdown pass for Chapin. Ben Sims on the receiving end of this one.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Option look, Sanders keeps it, makes a cut, first down, still running. Spencer Sanders all the way to the house. A crucial touchdown for Oklahoma State to fight back 37 yards.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Looking for Brooks in the corner. Got it! Touchdown, Alabama!
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Abe Smith remains in the game. Here is Smith, head down and in. Abram Smith with his first touchdown of the game.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina to my left. Craig Smoak to my right. David Smoak, Armstrong Sims, and Jack McKenzie both run the mothership. The Big 12 released their all Big 12 team. We'll get into that a little bit. There's always debate about who should have been this or that. And one of the things, though, we'll get into is how when somebody's named this player of the year or coach of the year, it's everybody seems to want to throw darts at the person who was elected or voted by the coaches or media. And instead of saying, yeah, he's pretty good too, or who, I saw a lot of, who's that? I've never heard of him. We'll get into that in just a moment because there were some honors that absolutely could have gone a different way. But we want to start with this. Some of you have been asking about this. Here is a picture of 365 Sports merchandise. Now, Jack, I think, is working on putting a link up. Is that right, that we could put up on the YouTube channel to have that for you? Okay. That is now the cap and or T-shirt. 365 Sports, thanks to Brian Etheridge. He's been working on that nuke time. And so that is available. We'll put up a link. But you can go to Sikkim365.com at some point as well. So that is there. In fact, I think there's a link up next to our super chat or our chat. So there you go. Thanks again to the ownership of Sikkim365.com, Sikkim365 Radio and 365 Sports. There's the link right there. So go get it. We'd love for you to do that, and thank you. All right, so the All-Big 12 team was ruled out. We're going to go over the superlatives because we could argue about this or discuss this all day. Offensive Player of the Year, Breece Hall.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I buy it. I mean, he could have been a better team. Maybe, I buy it, but I
mean, who else are you going to put on there?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Breece Hall had the NCAA record for most, games in a row with a touchdown dating back to last year. I mean, look around. There's no quarterback that's worth a salt in this league right now. You're not going to do an offensive lineman. There's no dominant receiver. Running backs wise, that's basically what you're selecting from. So, yeah, I mean, it's Breece Hall, and I don't know that there's really any other person you consider for the award, honestly. I mean, Abram Smith maybe, but Breece Hall I think is a sound choice.
Defensive Player of the Year. I know there's some arguments from the Oklahoma State fans on Rodriguez, their great linebacker, or maybe Kansas State's phenomenal defensive lineman. But Jalen Petrie, this is the coach's vote. What a story of a young man who was the only commitment when Matt Rule took over at Baylor after the end of the 2016 year, and he becomes the Player of the Year in the Big 12. Now, I understand. I saw some of the feedback. What about this or that? And I saw some people who actually said, and I get it, it's just Twitter, who is that? If you don't know who Jalen Petrie is and you're a Big 12 fan, you have not been paying attention to how good he is as well.
Well, you're really just showing your ignorance if you claim to be a Big 12 fan and you don't know who Jalen Petrie is. I mean, I think that's just kind of silly. So, yeah, you're just sort of outing yourself, if anything. I can understand there's other arguments. Guess what? There's 10 teams, and every team has 11 defensive starters. So imagine that there's going to be more than one person who's deemed worthy for this award. But guess what? They have to pick one person. So that's the award that's the hardest to choose from, not the Offensive Player of the Year, which would typically be the hardest award to choose from because you'd be split in between like 3 Oklahoma guys and however many others from all across the rest of the league. Defensively, though, this year, that's what you're doing. I mean, you look at Oklahoma State, they probably have a couple guys you can mention. Baylor's got a couple guys you can mention, on and on and on. But Jalen Petrie is deserving of this award. You can say others are too, but you can't say he's not deserving. He absolutely is, and congratulations to him because, yeah, that's a hell of a story to be the guy that was the least wanted in his recruiting class to being the only one in his recruiting class to then being the one guy who held over into a recruiting class, and now 5 years later, he's Big 12 Player of the Year defensively. That's awesome. That's really cool.
And I'll say this. I think the X factor on Jalen Petrie over some of the other people that it could have been is I don't know if there's a defensive playmaker that can do as many different things as Jalen Petrie does, whether it's in coverage, interceptions, fumble recoveries, rushing the passer, whatever it is. I mean, he's kind of a Swiss Army knife of what he can do. I think that probably puts him over the top.
He's not just a one thing. He's a linebacker. He's a safety. He's a lot of different things. A Swiss Army knife of sorts at his position. And for all those arguing, who voted on this?
Coaches.
Okay, yeah. So who would know better than the coaches when they're planning for all of these other 9 teams that they're facing? And I'm sure there was consideration given to Malcolm Rodriguez or to many other guys as well. But Jalen Petrie is a guy that those coaches, every week, those coaches mention Jalen Petrie. And every week, he's one of, if not the main guys they have to prepare for from the Baylor defense because of what all he does. So he is deserving.
I would not have been against if, in fact, it had worked out this way. If Malcolm Rodriguez and Jalen Petrie or Rodriguez had been named the Player of the Year defensively, if there'd been a I would have been fine with that because Malcolm Rodriguez is a great player too. All right, real quickly, Offensive Newcomer of the Year, Jaylen Warren, running back who just sliced right through Baylor in that game and is just tougher than nails. Caleb Williams was trying to make a push for this, but just basically that disappeared, and I'm not even sure if he still would have been unless Oklahoma would have run the table.
Yeah, if they had run the table, you have to give it to Caleb Williams. I mean, I think he would have had to have done that, but Jaylen Warren's been steady all year. He's definitely been a key pickup for them. I mean, if you look at the transfer portal, there's a guy right there that makes a huge difference for you that without the transfer portal they probably don't have, and maybe they're not in the same position. So, I think Caleb Williams would have made a good run for it. Be curious to see who maybe some of the other vote getters were, but I'm perfectly fine with Jaylen Warren being the newcomer.
Defense, Siaka Ika, defensive tackle, nose tackle for Baylor, had a tremendous impact. Took him a few weeks to get moving. I think the Iowa State game when he had a big-time pressure and then also batted a pass in the air that was picked was a kind of kick-started him and maybe had to get himself in better shape. Offensive Freshman of the Year, Xavier Worthy. He was fantastic throughout the year. Colin Oliver at Oklahoma State, defensive end, defensive Freshman of the Year. Another phenomenal player for the Cowboys, great defense. Special teams, Treston Ebner. When you started the year, you had Knowles at Kansas State. You had, at Texas, who was very dynamic. And he got loose a couple of different times.
Yeah.
But Ebner really quickly put his stamp on special teams when he ran back a kick at a conference game, and it was a difference maker for what they do. Cal, how about this one? From an offensive line that couldn't do anything to a player that we talked to at Big 12 Media Days, how about Connor Galvin, the offensive lineman of the year, considering Baylor was able to run the ball and do what they did? What a great story with Connor Galvin from from Katy High School.
For people who have joined us late and don't know the story of the Baylor offensive line, they've kind of known it was going to be bad for about 4 or 5 years before this one. And before they got it good, they knew that they were going to have problems. When Matt Rule came in, they had 6 scholarship offensive linemen. He managed to piece it together a couple years ago and get to a Big 12 title game in spite of the fact that that was the weakest position on the team. They had a couple guys that were fine, but really just could not, they could not run the ball at will. They could run the ball sometimes, but they never really could.
They sucked.
Yeah,
they were garbage last year.
And then you get to 2020, and it was maybe the worst offensive line performance you could ever imagine having. They were terrible. That was the first. Not only were they bad, they were the first group on the team to get COVID and never really got over that. And so they were even worse all year long. Just a revolving door of different 5 starters. And this year they've been not only better, but maybe the strength of the entire offense. Better than anything that they have, and it's because of Jeff Grimes and Eric Mateos and what they've done, and Vic Valoria coming in and just fixing that group. And Connor Galvin was always the good one, but for him to get Offensive Lineman of the Year, it means that the other 4 had to be good, and that just speaks to all 5 of them and what they did all year long.
Conference co-defensive linemen, Will McDonald, the 4th from Iowa State, Felix Azuma of Kansas State, who was fantastic, of course, the sophomore as well.
On a DK Azuma.
And Mike Gundy, Coach of the Year. Now, that could have been debatable as much as it could be with Malcolm Rodriguez and Jalen Petrie if you wanted to. Dave Aranda. But I have usually it's the guy that wins the conference. And they weren't favored to win the conference. They were in that 3rd, 4th range. And so Mike Gundy, he's one reason he's Coach of the Year is not just because they won the regular season title. It's also because they changed who they have been in the last year or two, and it led to a conference championship, at least regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could have a lot of Baylor fans. They wanted to do the whole Malcolm Rodriguez, routine and be about Dave Aranda not being Coach of the Year, even though he's got a great argument. They could do that, but you know what? Gundy's deserving too. Just like Jalen Petrie was deserving of Defensive Player of the Year, and Malcolm Rodriguez was as well. So you got to pick somebody. And they had various choices, and I think it was down to Gundy and Aranda in this case. And either way, I think you would have been, good with that selection. But certainly, Gundy's reinvented himself multiple times now at this point, but especially now. And they are sitting fat and pretty, with a playoff spot potentially out there for the taking, and of course a Big 12 title. And I mean, I think this outcome for whoever wins this game is going to be absolutely massive. I don't think it thrusts them into top 10 recruiting rankings or turns them into some type of a powerhouse, but I do think it provides a lot of ammunition for whoever wins this game this weekend of, being that new team on top of the conference as it's making its transition, and, just the benefits of the others being down that are down, and you can take advantage of that as well and strike while the opportunity is hot. So, yeah, good for Gundy, good for Oklahoma State. Good selections for Baylor as well. So, yeah, love seeing this list.
I will do this. I'll give you who I voted for, and 254-339-1122, the number. Chad Brendel will call us, will be a part of the show at 3:30 on Cincinnati, the college football playoff standings, their game with Houston, and also his thoughts about Marcus Freeman, now the head coach at Notre Dame, who was at Cincinnati. My offensive player of the year, mine was not Spencer Rattler. It was Bijan Robinson. I was wrong. He still had a very good year considering how bad Texas was. He was a first-team running back with Breece Hall, although Abram Smith absolutely could have been a part of that conversation. And my defensive player of the year preseason was Mike Rose, the linebacker from Iowa State. I was wrong on that one as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably most people's picks were those two guys, and I think that was probably my 2 picks now that I think about it.
Mike Rose got hurt, though, right?
He was better. He beat up a little bit. Never really. He just The
Iowa State defense as a whole wasn't as good as they have been, and that's why they lost 5 games because they're not good on defense or they're susceptible at times, and they make Brock Purdy have to do some things. That's when Brock Purdy gets into trouble, and then you're like, oh, it's all Brock Purdy's fault. It's not. You know what I mean? He's having to make plays, but Mike Rose is a good player. Bijan. I mean, Bijan had a great year. It kind of petered out there at the end, right, with just what Texas season was looking like, and then his injury. But I definitely had those 2 as my preseason guys.
All right. So today we'll have Chad Brendel a little bit, Cincinnati, Mickey Spagnola, Cowboys and Saints tonight. Both teams are not at full throttle. Max Olson will join us at 4. We'll have Off the Radar with Craig at 4:45. Paul's Top 5 at the end of the show at 5:55 or so. And John McClain will join us today rather than Tuesday from the Houston Chronicle. Let's see here. We gave you the graphic on the T-shirt. A lot of you have already responded very positively with that. So Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. It's somebody that a lot of you that have followed us.
I did have one beef on the Big 12 team.
Okay.
Tyquan Thornton behind Xavier Hutchinson of Iowa State.
Hutchinson was good, but Thornton was the best. Was really good, yeah.
I mean, and this is not a knock on Hutchinson, obviously, but I mean, he had 82 catches, 953 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and that's very impressive. But Tyquan Thornton had 30 less catches, had barely less yards, and had 3 more touchdowns, and a much better team that one head up. I don't know. I mean, Tyquan 55 balls for 875, and you had Hutchinson for 82 for 953. So more yardage, but far more catches as well. And Tyquan had more touchdowns. And I would think if you were to break it down even further, he's got nearly 16 yards per catch versus Hutchinson's 11.6. Hutchinson's a really good player, but I think Tyquan is very much under the radar, and he played a bigger role than he's probably given credit for on the team this season. He really got better and played very physical compared to what we've seen the last few years. He's going to have to really do that this weekend. I mean, he's going to have to catch some tough footballs, but I don't know. I thought he got a lot better this year, and that was just one spot where I was like, okay, maybe I would flip that around, but, congrats to Hutchinson.
I saw reports about Marcus Freeman, the next head coach at Notre Dame. I have not seen that as official yet. The young man who is, of course, their defensive coordinator. Paul, you put that up yesterday as your top 5 for Notre Dame, or when that was. A lot of Cincinnati fans who, wanted to make sure it wasn't Luke Fickell, who still felt comfortable with Fickell, but it made him a little bit nervous about Notre Dame. If it was Ohio State, even more so. And I get it, but Cincinnati fans were saying they would be silly not to hire Marcus Freeman, even young, with no head coaching experience, that he would be the one that kept that team together, kept their roster together, helped the recruiting, and was ready for that opportunity.
Well, Dave Bartu didn't think it was a good idea yesterday, but I'm gonna disagree with him on the fact that I think Marcus Freeman is going to be an excellent head coach one day, and maybe it's next year that he's an excellent head coach. I think Bob Stoops in Oklahoma certainly saw it in Lincoln Riley, and sometimes I think that when you put arbitrary things on people, he's not ready for this, or they're not ready for this because they've never done. Well, you can keep making excuses. If you believe someone has the talent, and it doesn't matter that he's 35. Lincoln Riley was 34, right, when he got the head coaching job. So, look, he's fantastic. If he's good, he's good. Just go. Just let it go. Let's roll with it. Sometimes, waiting for somebody to turn 40 so he can be a head coach is just kind of silly.
Yeah, I mean, he could be a flat-out bust for all we know. Yeah. He could be fantastic. I mean, that's the thing, is everybody can have their super hot opinions on whether or not the hire was good or not, and the fact of the matter is that none of us know. None of us know. Not even the people at Notre Dame know whether or not this is going to be a great hire. They feel like it's going to be. Clearly, that's why they made it. There was obviously a lot of support behind the scenes, players and so forth, for Marcus Freeman. He's a hell of a coordinator. He's been kind of inching towards these job openings and getting those mentions and stacking that up and stacking up momentum and clearly stacking up a lot of love in South Bend. And, I think that the big thing for Marcus Freeman, where he's already, won in some ways, is just the number of Notre Dame assistants that have committed to remaining at Notre Dame and not joining Brian Kelly at LSU. It's like the entire staff has already come out and said, we're going to be in South Bend. Tommy Reese had that video last night speaking to the team saying, this is where I want to be. And that was before I think the Freeman news was even really out there. So he's going to have a lot of the pieces remaining around him. I think that will definitely help ease the weight of the transition. And really, at this point, you're just losing Brian Kelly. Now, granted, you're losing a really good head coach who's a multiple 10-game winner, but there's a lot of other things that go into that, and a lot of those other things that go into that are still going to be at Notre Dame. So that's good for Marcus Freeman. I wish him well. I hope he is the next big thing. I hope he is the next big, Lincoln Riley type young head coach, and I hope it all works out well, because I think it's better for a young guy like that who is an outside-the-box choice, who, if this were the NFL, would never get this opportunity. Right? Look at he'd be Eric Bieniemy, right? So I'm glad that in college football there's a team willing to say, you know what, we're just gonna go for it. We're Notre Dame. We could go for the 60-year-old retread who's won 2 national titles before. We go pluck somebody, but we're gonna go with somebody new who's beloved. And look, there's high risk, but there's also high reward. So congrats to Marcus Freeman.
Well, yeah, again, you could have just hired Urban Meyer and then spent all your time trying to justify. We're a Catholic school with a Catholic mission. Don't worry about that. He's Catholic, so that counts. He can go, it's not, it's good. It's forward thinking. And right now, Marcus Freeman takes over a program that's built. He doesn't have to build it. He has to, keep, maybe get some new ideas to help it grow and get to the next level. But right now, they're 11-1. They're not in any kind of quagmire as far as recruiting goes. They've kind of figured that out. He just needs to keep it going.
All right. Thanks to those of you, a lot of you on the chat room from anywhere where Oklahoma is when their coaching search, which I think is probably, it's not going to be today, although who knows at any time. Those who have already bought the merchandise, we appreciate that. 365 Sports, and the link is on the chat room as well and on our site. And there's some even still discussing Lincoln Riley and USC. And so we appreciate you. And here's a couple of notes. There's a couple of notes. Adrian Martinez enters the transfer portal. I thought this would be it for him. If he stayed another year, that's fine. But it's probably the most frustrating 4 years, not just because of the losses for Nebraska, because of the lack of progress from Adrian Martinez, who was beloved in the program, but just never, ever, whatever just did not work. And he was supposed to be the rainbow for Scott Frost. It didn't work out. Good luck to him wherever he goes.
If you play a brand of football where fumbles are good, Adrian Martinez is your quarterback.
Yeah, he's a turnover machine. Yeah.
When he did flash, he flashed hot. You went, whoa, like that's what he can be. And there was just too much of the other side of things, the other side of the coin that, negated a lot of that. But no doubt a young man with some talent, but just herky-jerky kind of career in Nebraska, much like their football team while he's been there. And I'm not trying to, take shots or anything. It's just true. They've been a very, erratic program now for a while, and all throughout his tenure, no doubt about it. And he was part of the reason why, quite frankly. But, yeah, I think that's probably best for both sides. Yeah. I think Nebraska needs a new start. And I think that Adrian Martinez could use a new start. Adrian
Martinez is one of those athletes who's like quarterback cocaine, where the coaches see it and they feel like the flash, like, oh, they feel good, but really all it's doing is giving you momentary flashes and wrecking the crap out of your life.
Tampa Bay wide receiver Antonio Brown suspended 3 games for the COVID-19 violation. A little NFL note, also the NFL note, Cowboys again and Saints coming up tonight. Let's go to the calls, and then we break, and Chad Brendel will talk Cincinnati, Marcus Freeman, and more in the next segment, 365 Sports.
We're going to go heavy Cincinnati because this is Tracy from Cincinnati on the BetUS caller line. Tracy, thanks for your call.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Hey, just the carousel has been crazy. I know we got a report here in Cincinnati. Chad will probably be able to speak to it because he saw it about 2 days ago from our local news saying that Luke Fickell is the top choice for Oklahoma, but they're going to wait till after the championship game to try to talk to him. So everybody's sitting on pins and needles up here. But I do want to say this. Good luck to Baylor in the Big 12 championship game. I am rooting for you all to beat Oklahoma State. And how about this? The Big 12, I think, really shows strength this year. Outside the Big 10 and the SEC, you look at that conference, they're better than the ACC and the Pac-12 this year. They got the 2 highest-ranked teams in the championship game. That game at noon is going to be must-see TV. And so that's going to be primarily the one game I watched outside of Cincinnati at 4 o'clock. But at the same time, I wanted to also know what you guys thought about your coach down there at Baylor. after this Big 12 championship game, he's going to be really hot too. And I don't know if Oklahoma could poach him or not, but just want to get your thoughts on that. But, yeah, Chad's going to bring some information as it relates to Luke Fickell to Oklahoma.
Thanks for your call, man. Appreciate it.
I'm sure that Oklahoma, might, if they're smart, they probably kick the tires on Dave Aranda. But if LSU and USC kind of went past, maybe Oklahoma says, look, they didn't really get anywhere with him. They need somebody probably, a little quicker than that. Then
I think the big problem with Dave Aranda in Oklahoma is the recruiting. I mean, I think that's the big bugaboo is can he recruit at an elite level? And I don't think he's shown that he can to this point. And it's been a situation at Baylor where we've never really gotten to a groove with recruiting, like in talking about it and kind of seeing it because of COVID last year. It's made it all very strange. And then this year, I mean, they're so locked in on the season that, you bring up recruiting to Aranda and he's not going to really speak too much about it. And he's just not a big time, out there talkative, big personality recruiter. He's a stealthy guy. And so I wonder how that flies with some of these big programs and whether that's of as much of a maybe hindrance in their eyes as maybe I'm thinking it could be. Because outside of that, you love everything. And I'm sure he could be a great recruiter and may be a great recruiter, but just in comparison to some others and what a lot of people talk about when they're talking about this job and the important parts of it is like you got to have a big recruiter, like Notre Dame with Marcus Freeman, right? What was a big part of him staying on? Is the fact he's a great recruiter. That's what it all boils down to. So, I'm definitely not just ruling out because it's been so quiet in Norman. I'm not ruling out that they kick the tires on Dave Aranda, but I would be a fool to sit here, or I'd just be a liar to sit here and pretend like I have any idea of what they're going to do. I have no idea. Could be Luke Fickell. That would make a lot of sense. Could be Matt Campbell. That would make a hell of a lot of sense. He's apparently interviewed or will interview. Like I said, they kick the tires on Aranda. That would make sense. I'm just fascinated to see who it is because it's such an important hire, and they really can't afford to, do we got this one wrong, we'll just fix it again in 3 years. And then, you get that one wrong and you fix – no, they've been very fortunate with the run that they've had of head coaches of like 20 years of no turbulence whatsoever, but they really got to hit this one just based on the timing. So that's my thoughts on Oklahoma.
Paul?
All right. Donnie in Oklahoma. You're on the Bet US caller line.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. If anyone other than Malcolm Rodriguez deserves Big 12 player defensive player of the year, it's Jalen Petrie.
Yep.
Really hard to be that salty about it. With that being said, I bet the chip on Malcolm's shoulder is the size of Waco right now. And I hope he has 25 unassisted tackles, 5 sacks, and an interception, and every Baylor cheerleader's digits by the end of the game this weekend.
Hey, Donnie, by the way, someone on our site shared, and I don't know if they're allowed to do this or not, but they shared a thread on one of the sites that you're on, and I saw a lot of people who responded. First of all, thank you. You were very kind about our show, and we knew that you're a part of the show, but I saw a lot of people that kept trying to tell you they're Baylor fans. They're like, they got sick of them like bears behind their. I'm glad you had our back. They don't get it. They will never get it. That we're as unbiased as we could possibly be. And none of us went to Baylor, attended Baylor. No one's ever had anybody in our family go to Baylor. And we've tried to explain that before. Sometimes it doesn't matter. And thanks for your support.
Absolutely. You guys are great. You're the best out there as far as Big 12 coverage and beyond, in my opinion. We don't have anything like that in Oklahoma as far as Oklahoma State sports goes. We got to deal with the sports animal and Robert Allen. and Robert Allen's a great guy, does great things for Oklahoma State football and sports, but he has orange shades on. You guys are able to take the green and gold shades off and cover college sports like it should be covered. Just know we appreciate you all. And for the YouTube chat, make sure and slam that like button before you log off.
Thank you, Donnie. Good luck.
Absolutely.
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, we don't try to beat people over the head with the whole like and subscribe thing like you hear on every podcast under the sun. But, I'll throw it in there for the first time in like 100 days. If you could do that, that'd be great if you're watching and enjoying it.
I get on there and ask them to do it all the time.
Okay, I'm not you are like that. But I want to go back to Marcus.
I do it on all those shows.
Okay, well, I want to go back to Marcus. It was Marcus, right?
Yeah.
Fickle, guys. We just brushed over that. I mean, Cincinnati. Tracy, okay. So I was asking who it was. So Tracy's call. I feel for Cincinnati fans, man. It sucks. Here we are. We've been talking about Dave Aranda for the last 2.5 weeks, and still, until that Oklahoma job is filled, even though I don't look at that one the same way I looked at an LSU or USC, you still just, until it's over, you have to just say, well, I mean, maybe. But Fickle, obviously, there's been so much smoke around him all year. I hope Bearcats fans have been able to enjoy the ride, and I hope that they can find a way that, regardless of whatever's talked about with Fickle, that they can enjoy this weekend and go out and get your ass in that game and win that game, Bearcats, and then get your butt in the playoff and go prove everybody wrong and go show why that this whole those teams can't compete, and go flip the script. Go turn the world on its head. So Houston, welcoming you with open arms to the Big 12 as well, but a Cincinnati win would upset the apple cart, and I want that. And I want Fickle to stay at Cincinnati, and I hope he does, but just try to enjoy it as much as you can.
Yeah, time for one more call. We have to get to some people on time because of their time, not ours. But Garrett McGuire, by the way, had a what do you call it? Reckham, whatever, Texas Tech sign in his office. Next stop, the 806 in his office while with his Carolina Panthers hoodie as well. Paul?
All right, Josh in Washington, thanks for your call.
Hey, Catman, the two smokes.
Hey, man. Love that.
How are you guys?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Hey, real quick, man, I'm like a lark, man. I'm flying up high in the sky because I'm just so thankful that one of the powers that be has cut this cancer out of our program and gotten rid of it. Because Oklahoma has what a lot of universities don't have, and that's the Maestro HFC. And the Maestro is the one that brokered the deal for LR to come on in, and he's also the Maestro that's brokering the deal for the next head coach. And I'm just ecstatic. I think I'm a person that is ready for change, new blood, and I'm proud of the players for sticking up and staying and having a voice down there in some of the stuff that's happened. But, Oklahoma doesn't need LR. And for the kids that are left, like Craig was saying yesterday, he's all over it. This transfer portal thing, hey, man, Oklahoma football, we don't need you. Okay, we don't. But as far as the Coach Manning deal, for what I'm getting, I think the can's going to be opened up a can of worms, man, with that text or whatever, from what I'm getting through Discovery. But I just got a quick question. The other thing that I was going to say about the interview process at Oklahoma is the exit interviews for people. And Oklahoma fans can understand that. Those coaches that do the exit interviews for people, they have a procedure that they do. Those coaches that aren't going to make it, they're going to use that exit interview to the next coaching job to promote them for where they want to go, because they're going to say, oh, I got an exit interview from the University of Oklahoma. Oh, well, let's look at it. So everybody breathe. If you're an Oklahoma fan, boo Spencer Rattler now. It's accepted. You can do that. But, Paul, for you, since you're such an impressionist, and then I got a question. Can you do an impression of a Pat Jones imitation right before they go face Baylor in the Big 12 championship game in the locker room?
I'll have to
OSU, Bama, Tennessee, and Michigan win. Who's in and who sits? God bless you guys. Go Baylor.
All right. I'll have to I have a process. I have to listen to it and work on it. I can't just hear, like some people, I can just hear their voice in my head and go, but I do have to work on it. But I will work on that, hopefully maybe by the end of the show or by tomorrow.
All right, so you have to listen to a little Pat Jones to knock that down. With Oklahoma, I think they have every chance to be fine in this. Got to make the right hire, obviously, but I think that Joe Castiglione's probably got a lot more going on behind the scenes than even all of the speculation, there's been a ton of speculation, but I feel like there's probably even more going on behind the scenes. And I don't know, man. Matt Rule, Matt Campbell, Luke Fickell. There's been so many different names thrown out there. I'm just very curious to see, but I'm with you. I think Oklahoma can and will be just fine. I mean, it didn't die when Bud Wilkinson was gone. It didn't die after Barry Switzer and the NCAA ended that run. It didn't die after Bob Stoops decided to hand the reins to Lincoln Riley. and it won't die with Lincoln Riley either. There might be, maybe a couple extra bumps in the road that aren't expected, but I don't think that Oklahoma by any means is a dead man walking, and they're going to do everything in their power to remain relevant, and they will. And I'm just curious to see who it is at this point.
Chad Brendel's coming up next. He covers Cincinnati, and he'll join us next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters. If you want something a little unique to buy for somebody for Christmas, then Pickup Outfitters is a great place for you to visit or go online at createacommotion.com. What do? They have accessories for your pickup truck. They have accessories as well for what you, in fact, have when it comes to bumpers and grill guards and much more. Plus also this, if you buy your product and you have it installed at Pickup Outfitters, it comes with a lifetime installation warranty and also a lifetime installation guarantee, but also they'll help you with any kind of warranty. Jay Eric, the owner, 220 Lake Air Drive, createacommotion.com. His commercials crack me up. But you know what they do? They get people's attention, and they have been funny from day one when he took over the business just a few years ago. They have lay-in and spray-in bed liners. They have bed covers. They have bump steps and more. And by the way, lighting on your truck. Sometimes you see these big pickup trucks and bam! Sometimes because they're out in the country or maybe out in some place on a country road and you want better lighting, they can help you with all of that. So contact them. As I told you, there was somebody, David Carter, I believe it was, who contacted them once to try to help spice up a car, an old antique. And they said, no, don't do that, but this is what we can at least suggest. He loved how honest they were and is going to do business with them even out of Houston. Pickup Outfitters, createacommotion.com.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Genco has extended their offer till the end of the year. Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months. And have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. You can't pass on rates this low and make no payments for 90 days. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At long last, it's time for some college football. Bird Collision Ford proudly supports the Baylor Bears as they take the field this season. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Collision Ford. We have some great vehicles available this season as well, so come check out our winning lineup of new Fords. Let's cheer the Bears on to victory and celebrate by buying a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sikkim Bears.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the Bet US hotline, 254-339-1122.
Our good friend Chad Brendel, BearcatJournal.com, covers Cincinnati in many, many ways, and they're playing Houston for the championship, the American Conference, two future Big 12 teams. Chad, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. I'm going to start not with that game or even Cincinnati. What are your thoughts about Marcus Freeman and getting that opportunity at Notre Dame?
I'm a Marcus Freeman guy to the core. Marcus was awesome to me and to Bearcat Journal, and I consider the guy a friend after 4 years of working with him. And I couldn't be more excited to see him get that chance, man. There was part of me that was like, well, if Fick leaves, Marcus is coming back. So I'm really excited for him. I think he is absolutely going to be a star in this profession.
Yeah, Chad, do you? I've been saying it for the last few days. Who cares that he's only 35? To me, that you might have the next Lincoln Riley on your hands. Just let him loose, right?
Yeah, the thing that amazed me is you really got into year 2 and 3 and 4 as he started to grow as a defensive coordinator. The first year they took their lumps, and a lot of times, you don't see much growth from that. But Freeman took it as a challenge. So the next time they played Navy, after giving up 600 yards on the ground, completely switched all of their principles defensively, went to a 4-4 front, brought a safety down in the box, and they held Navy to 125 yards. They got beat by UCF twice. The third year, they showed up out of nowhere and ran a 3-3-5. And not only they ran a 3-3-5, UCF, what they like to do under Heupel, they'd run go routes with their receivers and just cycle them all day to wear down your corners. Generally, people don't rotate corners. Every time a DB ran a go route, they came off the field. He put a new corner on the field. Just little stuff like that. They ran a bear front against Army to try to slow them. That's stuff you see in the NFL, right? And he had his guys so trained and so dialed in that they were able to, in a week's time, completely change the defense that they were playing to match the opponent. And then as he started stacking this stuff in his arsenal, he could just change week by week. Okay, this team does this, we're going to play this way. This team does that, we're going to play that way. And he's a great recruiter. The kids relate to him at an elite level. And I've been blown away by him as a coach, too.
So, Chad, it looks like Freeman's going to be the guy at Notre Dame, and that's another job closed down on the coaching carousel. Carousel would probably be about done if not for Lincoln Riley over the weekend.
Yeah.
So what's it been like from the Cincinnati perspective with all the, obviously talk about Luke Fickell and as these jobs have come open and then in most cases closed, I mean, just what's been the thoughts of Bearcats Nation out there?
Really, Notre Dame was the only one that made you uneasy, like really uneasy. I think the money that got thrown around kind of made you nervous when, Oklahoma and LSU and Florida, you had some big time open jobs that were throwing around heavy dollars. And you're kind of like, I don't feel great about this. But Notre Dame is he's a devout Catholic. That's Notre Dame. Like it's a Midwest school. It's a top 5 job in the nation. So that was really the one that it was like, oh boy. But from what I've heard, Notre Dame reached out and Luke Fickell does as Luke Fickell says. And Fickell said, I got a championship to play for. If you want to talk when I'm available, we'll talk, but I'm not talking now. I got work to do.
Yeah. And I'm sorry.
No, just that's Luke.
And here they are on the cusp of the college football playoff. Is there still anxiety if they win?
Yeah. You need one of 3 things to happen to feel comfortable, I think. Georgia wins, because that knocks Alabama out. Iowa wins, because that would knock Michigan out. Or Oklahoma State loses to Baylor, so that Oklahoma State's not really in the picture anymore. I don't think Baylor could get back up high enough to pass them. So if any one of those 3 things happen, I think Cincinnati's comfortably in. If Alabama wins, Michigan wins, Oklahoma State wins, it's going to be a sweat from Saturday evening until Sunday at noon.
Chad, for the game on Saturday, Houston's won 11 games in a row. I know they haven't, they don't have a notch on their belt like Notre Dame, but what makes you nervous about Houston on Saturday?
2 things. Their defensive line is really good and they're really aggressive. They generally only bring 4. They don't blitz because they don't have to. They get pressure with 4. And Cincinnati's offensive line has been really good at times, but they've had some inconsistencies. So you worry just a bit about, the pass game and Houston getting home. Offensively, it's their running back, the McCaskill kid, the freshman. Mm-hmm. He's electric. And Cincinnati's had some problems this season slowing down the run. It's been more power run than, McCaskill's a little bit more speed, but he's got both qualities. So he just looks like a guy that, if Holgorsen decides our best chance to win is to keep the ball away from Cincinnati, slow down the pace of this game, they've got a running back that can do it because that kid is really talented.
Chad, I asked you a question about Freeman, and obviously we've also brought up Fickell for obvious reasons. Were you surprised that Brian Kelly bolted? Because didn't he kind of bolted in the dark with Cincinnati, didn't he?
He is who we thought he was. He left. I don't know how much you guys know about that story. It broke that he was going to be the next head coach at Notre Dame during the team banquet a couple days after they beat Pitt to go 12-0 and win the Big East championship. So he's in the banquet lying to the players' faces about how much he loves them, and they're looking at their phones, seeing that, it's being reported that Brian Kelly's the next coach at Notre Dame. So at the end of the banquet, he has 2 police officers escort him into a side room where they were having the banquet, where he does a live interview with ESPN about becoming the head coach at Notre Dame, and then he left out the kitchen exit so they didn't have to face his players.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
How about this?
Yeah.
I heard this from our 24/7 Notre Dame publisher, Tom Loy. 8:00 Monday night, he was in the living room of a recruit for Notre Dame telling the kid how he learned his lesson the way that he left Cincinnati, and he would never do that again. As his agent was finalizing the contract with LSU. That guy, look, he's an outstanding football coach. But as good as he is as a football coach is as bad as he is as a human.
Chad, thank you very much. Hey, I want to always
No hard feelings.
No. I want to ask you because I know your wife has been through hell a lot, and you told me that she was having the doctor's appointment. I hope you don't mind. Is she doing okay?
Had an angiogram today. We've been waiting 3 months for her kidneys to heal so she could have the angiogram. Had the angiogram, and it came back clean, no blockages. Heart looks good. Everything's good. So positive news today. So we're in good spirits today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. That's awesome. Chad Brendel covers Cincinnati, Bearcat Journal, 247 Sports. We'll hear in just a second from Mickey Spagnola. We normally have Mickey on at 4:30 on Thursdays, but he'll be on the Cowboys team bus headed to New Orleans. Well, headed to the Superdome for the game against against New Orleans tonight, excuse me. And so we'll have him here momentarily. Max Olson, national college football writer, will join us today at 4. One note, I got this again. This is Will Norris. He's an account coordinator for Brandon. It's a ticket price type of business. Said that ticket price is significantly different this time around. The average price for this week's game is now a 68% jump from the game back in 2019 with Baylor and Oklahoma, I would imagine, because Baylor wasn't expecting to be here in Oklahoma State either. So the ticket prices have now jumped. The average price is $206 right now for the tickets for Baylor, per ticket, Baylor at Oklahoma State. We're now joined by Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, this is obviously at this time of the year, nobody seems to be completely healthy. Dallas has their issues. Obviously, the Saints have theirs as well. Is it a battle of survival tonight?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I basically, on our podcast and my gut feeling for the website, I said, throw style out the window, just win. I don't care if it's by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. It doesn't matter. They just need to be able to grind out and win a game in a place where they haven't had much success winning football games over the last 20-some years.
Mickey, this one might be kind of ugly or up and down or a little in disarray given the notable absences on both sidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I've got a T-shirt from, I want to say it's back in the late 70s, early 80s, the Chicago White Sox. They printed up a T-shirt that said "Winning Ugly," and they were proud of it too. They were, and I put that on this game. It doesn't matter how you do it. If you win ugly, that's a good thing. This has been a tough stretch, right? Playing these 4 games in 19 days and 2 of the last 3 on the road, and knowing you got 2 more games on the road coming up after this road game. So, yeah, this is like one of those survival games, I think. You just got to survive this tough stretch, the 3 games in 12 days. You know, everybody's got to do it when they play on a Thursday, but this is a difficult stretch. So, yes, the bottom line today for the Cowboys is to win, no matter how. If it takes 4 quarters, if it takes overtime, just win the game.
Mickey, DeMarcus Lawrence activated. He put out a message saying we back and seems to be pretty excited about that. What's the anticipation level for finally seeing him back in action and what that can do for this defense?
Yeah, I think just having him on the field now, you know, he was on the sideline for the last couple games, and his voice, I think, on the sideline helps. But one of the things I think the Cowboys have been lacking has been pass rush, consistent pass rush. Keeping quarterbacks in the pocket, getting them to hurry. You know, Derek Carr, and I know they sacked him 3 times, but he had time of day in the pocket to throw the football, time and time again, getting deep crossing routes. So he will help there. Now, the key thing will be, we got to remember, he hasn't played a football game since September 9th. Got hurt the Wednesday of that following week, fractured his 5th metatarsal. And really, during the off season, I mean, he did very little, and even in training camp, he didn't play any preseason games and was held out of a lot of the contact in training camp. So I don't know that you can expect him to go out there and play like 60 of 65 plays. That might be asking a lot, but I think they've got to kind of regulate how many plays he plays. Maybe it's nickel situations, definite passing situations, third down, things like that. I just don't know that you can get a heavy dose of him. What he has to do is be effective on however many plays he's allowed to play.
Well, Mickey, next week is the one that Cowboys fans have been waiting for, and that the reinforcements are coming, and they can join them for the stretch run with Tank already back and possibly Randy Gregory and Neville Gallimore too, right?
I think Randy Gregory maybe more so than Neville Gallimore. We'll see how that one plays out. But the Cowboys seem somewhat confident that Randy Gregory would be back next week. So that certainly helps. And I would imagine, they'll get Amari Cooper back on a full-time basis with 10 more days between this game and the Washington game. And he's another one. I don't know how many plays he can handle after being out, after he tested positive for COVID on November 19th. They can say, you guys, well, unvaccinated, got to test negative twice, but you got to be out for 10 days. Well, 10 days is not like a magic number that you totally recover from suffering from COVID. So he was able to get through part of the workout yesterday. That's why they activated him off of reserve COVID. Now we'll see how much he's able to do. But you're right. If we go forward, he should be good to go full-time by the next game. Randy Gregory, full-time. CeeDee Lamb will be further removed from the concussion. They've got guys on the rebound here that will certainly help this team down the stretch.
Mickey, enjoy it. Thanks for your time. There are many times that we have been in a Super Bowl in New Orleans together and enjoyed some great times, and appreciate you. You showed me a couple of places I didn't even know existed.
How many oysters have you had, Mickey?
Let's see. I had an oyster po' boy today, and boy, they loaded it up with fried oysters, and I had a few raw oysters last night, about 4 or 5, I think. So, I'm good with the oysters here. I'm all about it.
Good for you. Thanks, Mick. Appreciate it. Mickey
Okay,
Spagnola.
see you guys.
Thursday's up a little bit earlier today because the team bus leaves about the time he would normally join us. When we come back, national college football writer Max Olson from theathletic.com. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
So the other night we did the big one, too, at Shorty's Pizza Shack. And today, Shorty himself reached out to me deep in pizza research the last few years in New York City, where he is making sure it's the best. And he wanted me to bring up the fact that Shorty's Pizza Shack has an online store now. So go to shortyspizzashack.com and you can go to the online store. And right now, for the Big 12 Championship, they have a special going on, which is 25% off all items today through Sunday, and just use promo code Big12Champs. That's promo code Big12Champs at the Shorty's Pizza Shack online store. You can get great pictures of Ted and his face with his gigantic, ridiculous beard, or some great Shorty's Pizza Shack memorabilia. It's a fun place to go. It's a fun place to hang out, and got some really cool stuff on the Shorty's Pizza Shack store at shortyspizzashack.com. That's promo code Big12Champs for a 25% discount today through Saturday.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they'll release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now's the time to get your name on Richard Carr's first in-line priority list and get a car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to discuss cars and trucks in transit today. Go to richardcarr.com for more details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
And here's a reverse. Heading to the corner. Heading. Touchdown, Michigan.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We are always appreciate the time of Max Olson, theathletic.com, college football national writer. Known Max a long time and was a part of our very opening week of what we did in April of 2020. Joins us. He'll be at the Big 12 championship game, Oklahoma State, Baylor, Saturday. Max, in your lifetime, we know what the earthquake of late July with Texas and Oklahoma and what that did to college football. Have we just like doubled down times a million with what we've seen the last 3 to 5 days?
I was just on the phone with Bruce Feldman right before this, and we were kind of commiserating about how it does remind me of August a little bit, where you have these kind of days where you have so many phone calls going on that it's hard to actually like sit down and get work done and actually write and stuff. It's just like there's just a lot going on right now, and there's a lot to stay on top of. And yeah, certainly what it's wild to think that on Sunday we were saying, man, Lincoln Riley to USC is it just feels very unprecedented. And then like that exact same kind of hire happens a day later. I mean, that's just, what are the chances, right? That the two of these would happen in one cycle, and to have this many top 10 jobs on the market and stuff, it's a really crazy time.
So, I'm just assuming that Lincoln Riley is probably the number one overall hire if you had to rank them. But outside of Lincoln Riley, who do you think really hit a home run with a good hire who's going to help their program grow? Is it Brian Kelly? Is it Billy Napier? Is it maybe even if Marcus Freeman does in fact get that Notre Dame job? Is it him?
The Marcus Freeman one is really interesting because he's only been there a year. I mean, he's made a great impression obviously on them this year, but. And throughout the year, and when he's done in recruiting and coaching and all that, but I'm definitely optimistic about how that one can go. I look at it pretty similarly to when Lincoln Riley took over Oklahoma or Ryan Day took over Ohio State, where it's already at a high level, and if you can hand it off to just a really likable, younger, energetic person that can really, I think we've seen clearly with Oklahoma and Ohio State. Look at how you can actually elevate your recruiting to an even higher level. With the next guy. And so I think that's possible for Notre Dame here. And certainly if things break their way on Saturday and they have a chance to get into this playoff, that would be, absolutely fascinating to see how that goes. So, yeah, I feel good about that one. And I do like what Florida did with Napier. I think LSU probably shouldn't have thumbed their nose at the possibility of hiring him. I think he's the right guy for that job.
So, Max, what do you think of, everything's basically been decided at this point. There's a couple of non-blue blood jobs that are out there. And that's not going to, have any of the big names necessarily attached to them. So that leaves Oklahoma now at this point. And there's been plenty of rumors, like with every other job, Brent Venables or this guy or that guy. What are your thoughts on that Sooners opening?
Yeah, I think if I had to take a guess today, I think it'll be Venables. And I think that part of that is, just a really they really want to keep the staff they have together. I mean, I'm sure people will still leave for LA and join Lincoln, but I do think that they feel like there's enough people in that staff that would say that if you can take someone like Brent and bring him in, that could be a good move here. I think Bob Stoops' role this week is important too. I'm sure that him holding things down here, I'm sure he has also made it clear to Joe Castiglione and the people making that decision that this is the kind of hire we need that people can get behind right now. And I think it can work. I think it can work depending on what kind of staff you put together. Offensively, the direction and the vision there is going to be very interesting for Venables because I think you want to maintain the brand of Oklahoma football that we have right now while also playing better defense. If it's not Venables, then I don't know. I guess you wait past the weekend and you talk to some people who are in these conference championship games and stuff. But, I know how important it is for recruiting in Oklahoma. They need to get this thing solved just as Notre Dame had to get this solved as soon as possible. So I would think it'll be him, but, don't hold me to it. There could still be some surprises here.
Max, I saw a couple of your notes. The Big 12 team came out. We mentioned all the superlatives and a couple other notes as well. For a conference that was just battered for many years because they didn't play defense, I know Jalen Petrie won Defensive Player of the Year, and we discussed that Rodriguez could have been a part of it. Others could have been a part of it. How amazing is it that you could have gone 4, 5, 6 names deep for Defensive Player of the Year, and all of them have a story to tell?
Yeah, I think it's great, and that was true last year too. Mike Rose won it last year, but there were, I think, once again there were 4 or 5 other guys that received votes from Big 12 coaches to be the Defensive Player of the Year, and same deal this year, and I think I probably would have expected that maybe that would go to Malcolm Rodriguez, or I even would have expected Nick Bonino to get some votes, and he didn't even get a vote from the Big 12 coaches. So clearly there's a lot of guys to consider here. Felix Anadike-Uzoma from K-State has turned into one of the best young pass rushers in the country. this year. So I think that there's a lot of good ones to choose from. And shoot, as you guys know, there's probably 3 or 4 guys on the Baylor defense that you could make a good case for there. So happy for Jalen Petrie. What an awesome story he's been when, I remember meeting him at Texas State 7-on-7 when he was their only commit. And I believe he was coming off knee injury or something like that. For him to get as far as he's done and certainly for him to be kind of that perfect hybrid defender for Big 12 defense, cool deal for him.
Max, how do you see the playoff shaking out after this weekend?
Well, it's easy to sit here and say I think it'll kind of go chalk, but I mean, based on the way the season has gone, that's probably a little foolish of us to just assume it's all going to go according to plan. So I don't know. I mean, like of all those games, if y'all had to pick one that would be the upset, which one would you feel good about?
Good question. Yeah. Man, I don't know.
And if you want to say Baylor, that's okay. There's definitely a case for Baylor, but you look at if you look at Iowa, you look at Alabama, and you look at Houston, like which one of those would you get behind?
I think, for me personally, I think it's Baylor's the easiest one for me to see happening based on the fact that I think the teams are so evenly matched. And, I think if you look at what Georgia's done to everybody in the way that Alabama's kind of slogged through the back half of the season, it's not hard to see that one getting kind of out of control, especially by Alabama standards.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, we just had another one. Brock Mendenhall stepping down at Virginia.
Oh, wow.
Damn. There you go. All
right.
Wow.
You never know. You gotta stay on your toes here. You gotta keep the tweet deck open at all times here. So I'm sorry. What were you saying there, Paul? About you think it's Alabama?
Yeah. Well, it could get out of Georgia and Alabama could get out of control based on how they've beaten everybody this year and how Alabama's sleptwalked through the back half of the season. So to me, Baylor's the one that seems the most reasonable. But again, it's just hard to pick upsets at this time.
No, I agree, and certainly the one that you think about, like what's going to be the big debate Saturday night, because there's always kind of one of those. And I do wonder a little bit, like, if Alabama plays Georgia really, really close and loses, are there going to be people saying, like let's say we have an upset or two, like are there going to be people saying like, oh, a 2-loss Alabama should get in, over a 1-loss Notre Dame or something like that. I do wonder if Alabama's not. You like to say, oh, they lose, they're dropping out, that's it. But it's Alabama, so you kind of have to worry about them a little bit. But, there's a way this could shake out, too, that would be kind of wild where, and great for the folks in the Big 12 office. If Georgia were to win and Iowa were to win, you can end up with a situation where you've got the Big 12 semifinal of Oklahoma State Cincinnati in Arlington, and then the winner goes to the national title game. That's one of those that I think, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but man, wouldn't that be a dream come true for Bob Bowlesby?
Yeah, that definitely would be. I mean, Matt, we talked about it just a second ago. I mean, these potential upsets. I mean, what do you think about Baylor and Oklahoma State in particular, Max? I mean, that Bedlam game was insane, and then obviously the fallout was even more insane. Oklahoma State, it's been a while since they won a Big 12 title. Their first appearance since the championship game return. Baylor was in it just a couple years ago, and we know the turnaround with Dave Aranda. Just your thoughts on both programs entering this game and the importance, Max, of winning this game potentially for both teams.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's really cool for these Baylor players, and I'm sure y'all talked about it all week. That think about how many of these guys, were at AT&T Stadium 2 years ago. And how many have stayed with this program through a coaching change and have become really, really good, experienced players there who get another shot at this. I think that's really cool. And I think certainly, it's been exactly 2 months since they last played. And I think both these teams have gotten a lot better since then. And so, you go back and you look at the last one and you say, well, clearly the difference here is, that Oklahoma State forced Baylor to punt on their first 8 drives. I'm very interested to see how the chess match of this is great. And obviously you've got, 2 guys up for the Broyles Award going head to head here. But I do think that part of it, just the matchup part of it and kind of what kind of plan does Baylor come up with here to attack them a little bit better. And, certainly I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on Baylor's defense because as we've seen, you look at just what the defense has given up, and this Oklahoma State defense hasn't let anybody, just the defense itself hasn't let anybody go over 24 points. So if that's what Baylor's going to end up with, then can your defense hold them to less than that? I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I think it's going to be a really close game. I really do, just especially with the way the Big 12's gone this year. And I think I could see it going either way, and hopefully it's as good of a game as we think. But I think Oklahoma State pulls it out. But if it went the other way, I wouldn't be that shocked.
Max, they met yet again for the college football playoff expansion and walked out the door yet again without really much going on. I'm not saying much wasn't going on, and now it's been pushed back again. And all this had momentum back in the spring, and really until about that Texas and Oklahoma SEC story broke. What do you think is the problem? Is it the number of group of 5 teams that get automatic bids? Is it just flat out just politics and nobody can get along? Because I bet you, and I said this yesterday, 15 of our viewers could get in a room, get a cup of coffee, get a beer, whatever, and have this thing done in an hour.
Look, in case this hasn't been clear to people who've been trying to follow it, because I understand the frustration with the kind of gridlock with these deals. It's pretty clear. There's 7 commissioners who are ready to go on this thing, and there are 3 commissioners who are holding it up, and it's the alliance, and that's what they want most of all. Is they want AQs. They want to be guaranteed that their conference champ, gets into the playoff, and I think that's something that there's a lot of resistance to, and that's what's been holding it up. And so, I think it's kind of been simplified down to just that issue now. And so, I would hope that in January, people cooler heads can prevail and they get this done. But that's what's holding it up. It's not, it's not Greg Sankey, it's not Bob Bowlesby, it's not anybody else, but those 3 leagues. And so, I know there's a ton of frustration there, that they still can't get this done and they refuse to budge on that. And I think that there's really a belief that the AQ way of going is just, not going to hold up very well for them. So I don't understand why this has been such a problem, but clearly in even forming the alliance, it's really all about politics. It's not about, what's the best model for college football. It's just about, making sure that their conferences get in every year.
I wonder, in a 12-team playoff, that
they will still get in pretty much every year.
I know,
maybe 1 out of 10 times they don't, but they still will get in every year.
Yeah, so you're holding it up for the one time you don't want to have to face the membership and go, well, we really should have fought for that AQ.
They're holding it up because they don't want the SEC to get too many teams in the playoff. That's part of why they're holding it up. And I just don't understand why. I understand they want to work together and vote together and all that, but I would think Kevin Warren, for example, is a little more powerful than how he's acting in this stuff. I just don't get why they're taking this approach. And once again, we're just saying, okay, next meeting in January, hopefully these guys figure it out. But certainly, it seems like they're making progress, but it's still, honestly kind of annoying that they can't get this done.
Yeah, it is. Max, the end of an era in Lincoln, Nebraska. Adrian Martinez announces he's entering the transfer portal. Your thoughts on that move, his time in Nebraska? I know it was very, topsy-turvy, up and down, but sacrificed a lot. I mean, certainly played hard and all that through everything. But Adrian Martinez, your thoughts on maybe where he goes next and where Nebraska goes next as far as quarterback?
Smokey, you good with Adrian playing in the Big 12 next year?
Hey.
Yeah, you know what? I do like him, and I know that he didn't always have a lot around him, but that might be the biggest wasted 4 years of a talent that I could ever imagine. And I put a lot of that on, and I'm not saying he's flawless. He got his own problems. He's a turnover machine. But I got to put that on Frost and the coaching staff. That talent, how could he not end up being better record-wise? And then, I'm glad I wish him one more good year of college football, but I hope he still understands that he was part of the problem too.
I think that's a good recap of it. And I've watched, certainly you and I have watched a lot of Nebraska football over the years, Smokey. Mm-hmm. I've never really turned on that kid and felt like that kid was totally the problem. I think you've watched their teams and said, man, they are just really putting it all on him and asking him to be the superhero because they're not very good at the skill spots and they weren't very good on the O-line this year. And so, the legacy there is, he put up more yards than any quarterback there. Also, just a ton of turnovers, a ton of untimely turnovers. The record's not very good. I think if he can go to a school, and I think he will have some Power 5 options. I do. I don't think he's just automatically going to be a G5 guy, but I think if you can put him with a good supporting cast, and I think you can probably coach him better than Nebraska did. I think he could be a pretty good player. Now he's got some injury stuff right now, and if he's one of those guys where he can't go through spring and stuff, then that's a little bit tricky in terms of what's the right fit for him. But man, you look at a place like K-State, for example, who's losing Skylar Thompson. Like, why couldn't he be a pretty productive player there if he could stay healthy?
Why'd you put that into the universe, man? That's actually kind of a scary thing.
I just mentioned it because his girlfriend goes there too, so that's where people have already kind of been connecting those dots a little bit. But,
well, I've been
there's some of those kind of schools that you look around the conference. There's certainly a few teams here that are graduating some QBs that I think if you're looking for a playmaker, and you take the good with the bad, obviously, but I think he's going to have some options if he can stay healthy.
Well, I mean, K-State, one of their big things, they have to get better at health-wise at quarterback and just depth-wise there. So I think, Martinez would make a lot of sense for them.
I think Will Howard, who's a good young player, but I think he threw for like 60 yards against Texas. Like, they didn't have much of a passing game when they didn't have Skylar Thompson. So, I think they're probably one of those schools that's worth looking into there. But, clearly with the way things are going in this sport, there's probably going to be a lot of schools looking for a quarterback, a starting quarterback on the market this year.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, they're way too feast or famine without Skylar Thompson. It's just it's night and day how that kind of goes for them. Max, I did want to ask you about Michigan and just that huge win last weekend. I mean, obviously now playing Iowa for the title, but I mean, what a win for Harbaugh, right? Needed that one in the worst way, and the way that they did it was just that much more impressive.
It is. It's similar to Bedlam. Like, it's cool to see, like, man, the team that was just better this year won the game. That was cool to see, because in both of those rivalries, certainly, one team's been losing all the time, and it's such a big psychological hurdle at some point. So yeah, that was cool to see, and I think they're going to get a good tough game from Iowa. But man, it's they really put it all together, and it was striking to me how, for as much as Ohio State has improved over the last couple of months, man, Michigan was just the more physical team, and it was really just like the Oregon game. It really was, in the way they were able to run the ball and play good defense and kind of control the game. I mean, so Ryan Day's got to make some hard changes here and find a DC, and I think Ohio State's going to be good next year. But man, huge for Harbaugh, and certainly if you told me, with him coming back this year and the way that they changed his deal and everything, if you told me he's going to go 11-1, I'd say, I don't know about that. That's probably a little too ambitious. So pretty cool to see them. That's not even his most talented team there, but man, it's like Oklahoma State. Man, they play really hard.
Max, thank you, man. And I mean it. We'll see you Saturday at Arlington. We're broadcasting our pregame show from inside the stadium. Appreciate you always being loyal to us. Means a lot, and we'll talk to you next week.
Hey, do you think I can get some of Blake's brisket if I come out?
I think we can set that up for you.
Yeah. So.
I will.
I've seen some tweets. I'm quite intrigued.
He and Brian Etheridge are also about to unveil some sort of a cooking channel. So,
oh boy,
I know.
Look at you guys diversifying. How about that? That's beautiful.
Got to in this day and age.
Yeah, we do. Hey, buddy, thank you, man. We'll see you Saturday.
Hey, thank you.
It's a great friend of the show, Max Olson, 365 Radio.
That was actually, I think, brilliant. The Adrian Martinez, the K-State thing. I think that K-State. They are a good program, man, but just way too dependent on Skylar Thompson. Like, way too dependent on him. And that was just a bad loss last weekend in Austin. I mean, I know they didn't have him, but...
Isn't that what he just came from, though, Martinez? They too dependent on him?
But I'm talking about, like, if you lose one guy, you're done. Like, Blake Shapen's going to start in the Big 12 championship game, maybe. I mean, it all depends on how healthy Gary Bohannon is. But they have an option who just went out and won them a football game last week. Once Skylar Thompson goes down, K-State has, like, a 10% chance of winning no matter who they're playing if it's not Skylar Thompson at quarterback. So... I mean, yeah, their offense couldn't muster hardly anything. Without Deuce Vaughn, I mean, there's nothing there. There's nothing there without Deuce Vaughn. So I think they've got to not only find a guy, but I think they need to find a couple of guys. And so I'm not saying you get Martinez and then you're done. No. I'm saying you get Martinez and somebody else, and then you go from there.
Well, and look, Martinez gives you 1 year to, maybe see what you like to really give Will Howard a real shot to develop, because he had been thrown into the fire as a 17-year-old freshman during the COVID year. Then he throws him back into the fire. So if you have anything in him, maybe Major Martinez helps you develop him a little bit more. Plus, and I guess all due offense to Scott Frost, I'm not trying to say that, but Chris Kleinman's got a better overall system than Scott Frost does. Bottom line.
Okay, wait a minute, though. Okay, I'm not going to disagree, but what kind of style does his offense play? Physical. The running quarterback has to be a runner. Martinez is brilliantly fast and athletic, but he is a fumble as much as an interception machine. He will have to put on some more muscle.
Like Max said, you're going to have to take the good with the bad, and maybe Chris Kleiman can make him do that. Maybe this is your last shot to prove something to anybody about your future. And I don't think Adrian Martinez is an NFL quarterback, but he's an athlete, and maybe you can use him there. I think that's probably the best fit for him as far as a program that can play it in a postseason, a bowl game.
All right, that's another story now in college football. A guy that was there 4 years, they never went to a bowl game, and very much under 500. And I'd say about half of their losses came with Martinez turning the ball over at critical times, including this year on a couple of different occasions.
Or their backup doing so in their last game of the regular season. And Max just threw that out there. There's a lot of other landing spots potentially for Adrian Martinez, and I'm sure he'll be looking around and deciding on what the best option for is. Maybe K-State's not even an option, but it's just something he threw out there that I was like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. But I want to say, too, what an awful year for quarterbacks in the Big 12. I mean, there's nobody of note, really. I mean, yes, there's Brock Purdy. You can say his name, but it's not like he went out and just tore it up. Gary Bohannon was good. He's fine. Texas was a revolving, rotation of two different guys with Card and Thompson. Oklahoma, we know that was a mess with Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler. Although Williams, made some plays, he also... it was just a weird situation.
Caught up him a little bit.
And then we found out, hey, if he can't play street ball, basically, then, he's a little bit limited, no matter how talented he is. Just go down the line. Everybody either, sort of lived up to their expectations or did not at all. There was nobody that was like, man, they were so much better than I thought they were going to be. There was no star quarterback really in the league, other than just being stars because of what they had done previously, like Purdy. Yeah, I don't think there's any dominant quarterback right now that you're like, oh, that's nobody can go there and win a job. I think pretty much across the board, there's going to be a lot of competition for a lot of these jobs.
And Sanders played better as the season ended, and that was the difference because a couple of others could have done that. And I remember he was intercepted 3 times by Baylor, a couple of times in Baylor's red zone, and they got nothing out of it. I think, Craig, you brought that up earlier. 3 picks, no points. A couple of times was inside the Baylor 20 or so. But he got better. He gained confidence. His team also complimentary football. Very well done.
Yeah.
Now, one of the stories today as well is just recently, as Max said.
I'm also still mad at Kansas State for letting Texas off the ropes last week. I hated that. And you had a golden opportunity down in Austin, and just they again, Kleiman made some questionable decisions, and
Bronco Mendenhall resigns at Virginia. A lot of people are asking why. He's a heck of a coach. He was good at Brigham Young, but I saw his record. 6 years at Virginia, 36-38. 6-6 this year. 5th consecutive season, bowl eligible during his tenure. I don't know what the expectations are for Virginia. At times, they were pretty good this year.
Well, I think the thing is, it's not expected. It's unexpected. So, for all those wondering why, I think that's what everybody's doing right now is wondering why, because this was not something that seemed to be, in the works. And, he just very abruptly is out. So maybe some Virginia, locals can fill us in on maybe whatever's been going on there that led to this. But that's very surprising. That's a really good school, man. That's a really good school and a good location. There's a ton of talent in VA, especially Virginia Beach area, which I know Vatech has hit up plenty of times, and that's an interesting job opening just kind of out of nowhere.
Here's their schedule, and ended with 4 consecutive losses to Brigham Young, which was a game that Mendenhall didn't want to have to play because that's where he was from, but it was on the schedule. Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, and Virginia Tech. They lost to top 25, top 10, and top 20 back to back to back, and then 29-24 in a back and forth with Virginia Tech, and of course a rival. Virginia Tech was 6-6 as well.
I'll throw out who you should call, Virginia. Jamie Chadwell. Call him.
Yeah.
He's right there in the region.
I agree, Paul, that it just makes sense that he's in the region, but for a guy who's so on the radar, there's been no blip whatsoever. For any job out there.
Yeah.
The only blip there's been with Jamie Chadwell has been the media going, Jamie Chadwell. That's really, and that's it. There's been no smoke for him going anywhere, despite the fact that he was on that early list of the top 5, best up and coming coaches. So I don't know. Maybe it's just he hasn't proven enough yet. Not sure. But, would it be surprising if he was in the mix because of that, what you just mentioned, just geographically? No, it wouldn't be.
Caden Grace, no, he was not on the hot seat. Zero pressure to leave. From B.R. James, by the way, on K-State is an offensive coordinator issue. That's needs
true.
to be addressed. And then one other note on Caden mentioning at Mendenhall, bingo, Paul, when you mentioned Jamie Chadwick.
Yeah, or
Chadwell, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. I mean, it's down to that because all the other jobs are filled except for Oklahoma, and he's not getting that job. But you're right, K-State does have a potential OC problem. And Kleiman, I think, is going to, make some changes. I think he's going to have to do that. But we've already seen, Leipold at Kansas has already made a couple of changes on his staff. He got rid of some Les Miles carryovers and promoted within with one of his Buffalo guys and another that was on the Miles staff, but he promoted him. So K-State, I'm also expecting to be pretty quick with some moves and wouldn't be surprised at all if it came on the offensive side of the ball.
Virginia's quarterback put up 4,400 yards, 31 touchdowns. Brennan Armstrong, he's a junior. He's back, you would think. All right, we're not done. We will get to some of your chat discussion. Also, the text line. Some of you have also been on with that. And also, we'll open the phone lines again at 254-339-1122. Armstrong, please open them up. Paul, please open it up. And then today at 4:45, Craig Smoak. He'll have his off-the-radar Paul's top 5 in just over an hour and a half. Sick'em, 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
BetUS.com, man, what a crazy weekend for betting. Look, you've got Cowboys and Saints tonight that you can bet on. You've got college football championship weekend. Tons of great games that you can bet on and lots of great action there. Plus the NFL weekend, NBA, college basketball, PGA events going on. You've got all sports around the world you can bet on. If you're into betting cricket, you can bet cricket on BetUS.com. They got action on pretty much everything around the world. So go to BetUS.com today. Just got a call from SpaceX. I don't know what that's about. Maybe they're finally taking one of my ideas. BetUS.com and use our promo code SICK'em125 for a 125% bonus on cash or SICK'em200 for a 200% bonus on crypto. BetUS.com.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all mid-sized trucks. The Big Finish sales event, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Black Friday. It gets all the attention, but what about Truck Friday? Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and we say enough is enough. Cologne for Christmas? What, do you want to smell nice when you hit a deer? I'll take a grill guard for $100 off instead. If your wife is thinking about getting you some slippers for Christmas because your feet look cute with bunny ears, you better put the brakes on that and send her to Pickup Outfitters. We got a truckload of specials for Truck Friday. Free installation on all bed covers purchased at Pickup Outfitters. Hard folding bed covers as low as $8.99. $300 off ranch hand front bumpers. $150 off ranch hand rear bumpers. $100 off any ranch hand or Frontier grill guard. $50 off any toolbox. $100 off RKI heavy-duty toolboxes. A complete list of specials is in our showroom. Truck Friday is 8 days only from Friday, November 26th through Saturday, December 4th. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com/Truck Friday.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. The chat room keeps on flowing so much. Someone just mentioned that maybe someone the thought was that Bronco Mendenhall, they asked him to make some stats. Again, this is just the chat room. And sometimes, oh my God, they're fantastic with information. And sometimes it's like, what are you thinking? And that's why we have it. But was he asked to make some changes? Staff changes. And then that perhaps say that for him, no. Okay, here's a tweet from one of our partners, Ashley Hodge. That's a map around AT&T Stadium. And there's going to be a tailgating opportunity. There's going to be food and drinks, and a Cartel Taco Bar will be there at the site where you see it around AT&T Stadium. And we appreciate all of what we're trying to do as we load up. I think it's going to be an incredible crowd. Oklahoma State's coming down, you know. Baylor's apparently sold out their allotment. That's what, who brought that up yesterday? I think it was Ricky Thompson. So there is that. Now, number two, we mentioned this earlier in the show. Somebody, and we appreciate your patience on this, have been wanting merchandise. And there was a kind of a, I don't know if it was a distribution issue or just a communication issue where people were not responding to Brian Etheridge in kind. So Brian got this done, finally. And he's been working on this for a long time. Here's a couple of 365 Sports pieces of merchandise you can go on. It's the chat room. The link is on the chat room. It's on our website, sikkim365.com. And we'll add to that. It's not over. In fact, for a lot of you that understand the Baylor Mafia, there's a T-shirt that just says Mafia, which is from Someone Said Something, that one, on a website that covers A&M, that Baylor gets players because of, like, there's some sort of Baptist Mafia money. So there's that as well.
As an Italian person, I don't appreciate that cultural appropriation, but I guess I have to let it slide.
It could be a French Mafia, Russian Mafia. You've ever heard of it? What language is the word mafia? Sounds like to me it's Spanish. Now, also, today ESPN's Michelle Vopel had a lengthy article, a very lengthy article. Now, remember, Ross Dellinger was a part of an SI.com article on former Baylor women's coach Kim Mulkey. She's now at LSU. And then she came out with one, and it's got some different parts of it, but pretty much the same. But back when all this went down in April, I kept trying to tell you that one of the main sticking points was the name of her name on a court. And Armstrong, do we have the quotes? It's a great article. It shines Kim in very many ways. After Baylor's second NCAA title in 2012, boosters began advocating for Mulkey's name to be put on the Farrell Center floor. A source told ESPN's Michelle Vopel the administration said he wanted to wait to do it because Mulkey, who turned 50 that year, was still relatively young in her career. 7 years later, they won a third national title. The Boosters continued to want that, offering to pay whatever cost it would be to add Mulkey's name to the court. The Baylor administration still resisted, the source said. Now they're in the process, as you may know. Baylor's building a new basketball arena as they very early stages, and named after the donors Paula and Mark Hurd. Here's near the very end of the article, though. Mulkey, a quote from Kim Mulkey. Look, that didn't make me leave, the court thing. But I will say seriously, Obviously, excuse me, I never would have left a program that would have put my name on the court.
All right, when I read that, my eyes rolled back so far in my head, you would have thought I was having a seizure. I don't have to be careful about this anymore. I don't care. I don't care if she sees this and calls me. Look, even if it didn't make you leave, the fact that you said that makes it sound like it made you leave. Like, that sounds to me like, well, I wouldn't have left had they done it. Well, they didn't do it. They weren't going to do it. There's a multitude of reasons that they weren't going to do it. None of them are even worth getting into. The fact is they weren't going to do it. And this all comes on the heels of the fact that the men's program finally reached the heights that she said many times she never thought that they would reach. And they did it. They're top dogs. The minute they were top dogs, her ass was out the door. Bottom line. So tell me what this is really about, Kim. I mean, and I'll have Baylor fans, I hope you do. Put a thread about me on the message board. Go ahead. I am so sick of talking about her and why she left. There's one reason why she left. Nice guy Scott Drew finally got done what he wanted to get done for years. And he's the big dog and she's not. That's why. There's no other reason. That's it. Kim left because she's not the top dog anymore.
And she wouldn't have left had her name been on the court, which is what I said many times in April. And some of you just did not want to believe it. And she kind of all but right there, as you mentioned, Paul.
Just top dog stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with Paul. Really, I don't care about the court thing at this point. I don't know why we're still talking about her. And I mean, I get why, because there's an article that's coming out. So I mean, it's not like it's just completely out of nowhere. Nothing but respect for Kim Mulkey. Good luck to her in Baton Rouge. I wasn't going to sit there during that time period and be like one of those people that was like begging her to stay. And I had tons of people that were like, why are y'all anti-Kim? And it's like, it's not that. It's the simple fact that we're trying to enjoy the men's national championship that no one ever thought was ever going to be possible and may never happen again. And not really, and all the other changes that are going on, and not really trying to get down into the weeds on whether she's happy or not. Like, why do we have to derail everything because Kim has an issue? And the fact that it's still going on. Like, why is it that there's still just no clarity on why she left? Like, everything's been this little dance around thing. Like, well, no, it's not that, but then but then alluding to it, and then no, it wasn't Baylor forcing her out. It was Kim's choice. No, it wasn't Kim's choice. It was Baylor. Like, which is it? Why is this such a secret? Why? I just don't understand that, and it needs to all move on. She needs to go and do her thing in Baton Rouge, and Baylor needs to do their thing with Nikki Collin. And again, good luck to Mulkey. I have nothing against her at all. She was cool. Thought she was fun to cover for what little I did. But like the drama of this, I'm so over it. I'm so over the drama of it all.
It's simple. On April 6th, 2021, at 9:36 p.m. or whatever it was, the Baylor men won the national title. And at 9:37, Kim realized she was not the top dog. Yep. And then a week later, she left.
And you can say whatever you want to about, Mac Rhodes or Kim or whatever, but the timing, you cannot deny the timing. And that's what you're referring to. And that's, it's just weird how all that happened so quickly in that specific time period. Yeah. And I'll say that.
All right, let's go to Anthony in Miami. Wants to talk Jamie Chadwell here on the BetUS caller line. Anthony, thanks for your call.
Hi, Paul. Hi, guys. How are you today?
Great. Thank you.
I have a question for you guys. I understand Chadwell and Bickle want head coaching jobs at the Power 5 level, but do you think they should actually look at seeing if one of the bigger programs are willing to hire them as coordinators to have them get experience at the Power 5 level before they go to the top of the food chain as a head coach and stuff like that. Is what guys like Chadwell and Fickle want a head coaching job at the Power 5 level, but why not look for a coordinator job at the same school they're waiting for? And it seems like those coordinators get.
No, I appreciate the call. I really do. The idea is, well, Luke Fickell and Jamie Chadwell don't need to go somewhere as coordinators.
Well, Luke Fickell was already he was at Ohio State. Yeah. I mean, so he got the Cincinnati job because he's had that experience. So I know what you're getting at, but that's just not the way that it works. You don't leave a Cincinnati head coaching job to go be, the Michigan offensive coordinator so that maybe, Tennessee will hire you in a few. I mean, no. I mean, Luke Fickell's already built his resume, and he's done it as a coordinator and has done it quite a bit and did it very well at Ohio State. So that's not what is holding him back. I mean, I do think on Chadwell's side there is a little bit of an uncertainty over just how far along he is and who he'll be and all of that. But him leaving a head coaching gig at Coastal to go be the OC at Oklahoma or something, I don't think that necessarily changes much at all for him. I think, proving that you can be a day in, day out head coach and do that grind. And look, Coastal keeps winning and he's at the heart of it. People are going to take, and people have taken notice. And look, he might be the next Virginia head coach. You know what I mean? So, I mean, get what you're saying, but that's just not how the process works. You're not leaving a head coaching gig anywhere to go be a coordinator unless it's like a 3-level jump of you were, the head coach at Sam Houston and now you're the offensive coordinator at Texas. Like that would be a move you make. But head coach at Cincy to coordinator somewhere similar, that's just not going to change much.
All right, when we come back, Craig,
thank you,
off the radar. Yeah, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. But those two guys are up that food chain unless they fail dramatically and go like 0 for 10 the next 3 or 4 years and have to rebound. But then they'll just
Sarkisian.
They'll just go work for Saban. All right, when we come back off the radar, this is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Now, Armstrong, do you have the video? This of the triathlon of Bob Mock. I'm not sure if we have that available or not. He is the owner of the Waco Marco's Pizza Stores. There's 4 of them. One that's being built right now that's being finished up in Robinson. There is one in Woodway, one in China Spring, and also a Marco's Pizza in Belmead. This is Bob Mock crossing the finish line on November the 21st at a triathlon. And you can see where his legs are basically almost all but nuclear. I mean, all right, good. I want to share that video. That's November 21st. He owns the Marco's Pizzas here in Waco. I also want to bring this up because Bob has lost an inordinate amount of weight. He used to battle it. And so that's enough. He owns the pizzas. Congratulations to him. I asked him, in fact, I said, how you doing? He goes, I feel pretty good. So congratulations to him. What a great story. Marco's Pizza, right now with 4 locations, as I mentioned. Marco's Pizza, Belmead, Woodway, also Robinson and China Spring. Pizza lovers get it. You can go to marcos.com and look at all the various specials they have. 1 topping, 3 toppings, whatever crust you want. They have the I guess you could order if you want to, for maybe some sort of gathering or get together, sandwiches, wings, pizza, and all of drinks, salads. Go to marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads. Crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's Margaritas and Mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar. Taking a look at a few stories outside our normal purview, and I'll still, dabble in some college football, certainly in today's segment, and also in some Baylor football, even though we talk a lot about that. But just kind of covering the bases that we may not cover at times during our discussions. And I will start off with some Baylor and college football. The East-West Shrine Bowl announced some new additions today. And Baylor offensive lineman Xavier Newman-Johnson has officially accepted his 2022 East-West Shrine Bowl invitation. So has wide receiver Tyquan Thornton. He will be headed to the Shrine Bowl. And it was actually almost a couple of weeks ago now at this point, and I don't think we ever really talked about it, but cornerback Kalen Barnes accepted a Shrine Bowl invitation. So those two will join Barnes and give Baylor 3 guys in the East-West Shrine game. We know as well that Jalen Petrie, Terrell Bernard are going to be in the Reese's Senior Bowl, and this should be a fun pro day this time around. Last year was weird as all get out, and they didn't really have a whole lot of options either for NFL scouts to choose from. But this year will be wildly different. You got Bernard, you got Petrie, you got Thornton, you got some of these linemen. So good for those guys, and cool seeing those all-star invitations go out. Xavier Newman-Johnson, I mean, you think about where he was and the hurdles that he's overcome, and Aranda's talked a lot about just opening him up as a person and getting him to trust people, and they've done that effectively. And now here he is playing in an all-star game, and then Tyquan Thornton, a young man from Miami, made the choice to join Matt Rule and go cross country and get out of Miami and go make a new life for himself. And it's been a struggle. He came in a rail thin, kind of raw prospect, and they've slowly but surely put some weight on him. He's the best he's looked, I think, throughout his career right now. I mean, just in terms of catching the football, running, everything. So that's two kind of that's just two to most people out there. That'll just be two guys going to an all-star game. But if you covered them, you know that these two guys have been on quite the journey. So I'm happy for Thornton and Johnson.
His ability this year, there was a play over the middle against Texas Tech, and it was like a 3rd down and 6 or 7. He caught a pass that was behind him. His ability to go up or get the 50-50 balls has been almost spectacular. Mm-hmm. Not flawless, not perfect. I think he dropped the touchdown in one game, but he has been money.
Well, and he's gotten really smooth running his routes too. I mean, he's fast. He's one of those guys who moves really really quick and doesn't look like he is. And it just I've been impressed, especially last year. He was. And not completely all his own fault. I mean, they had a problem. There was nothing good about the offense last year. Everybody got an F. Every single thing on the offense got an F. But he was one of those things that you wonder, like, well, man, that was a real drop-off. Like, he can't win on any routes all of a sudden and all this, and he's certainly doing it now.
So I want to kind of go over some of the coaching carousel stuff and then mention the hot rumor here in the state of Texas today. But we just learned about Bronco Mendenhall being out at Virginia, a bit out of nowhere. And so now the Virginia Cavaliers' job is opened up officially. And so good luck to the Cavs as they go through and finding who their new guy is going to be. But elsewhere, SMU announced SMU didn't announce, but Pete Thamel reported that they are expecting to hire Missouri assistant Casey Woods as SMU's new offensive coordinator. You got Rhett Lashley there, so obviously he's going to have a big say in the offense. But that's just notable that SMU and Rhett Lashley with that new staff have now look like they're going to be hiring Missouri assistant Casey Woods. He's the tight ends coach and recruiting coordinator for the Tigers, but looks like he will be the Mustangs' new OC. By the way, how weird is it seeing Kaz Kazadi in TCU gear and purple and stuff? That's bizarre.
I wonder if that guy will apologize to him.
Yeah, I don't know. Depends on how many games they win. Yeah. Colorado State fired Steve Adazio after 4 seasons, just 4 wins over 2 seasons. His time is over. So now Colorado State, a team that was kind of talked about with Big 12 expansion and was sort of on that edge, I guess, never quite over that edge. And maybe if all hell were to break loose and like Oklahoma State bolted for the Pac-12 and Tech went and Baylor went to the ACC or something, then maybe Colorado State would get that invite. But they are now going to be coach searching because Steve Adazio's out. They'll pay him $3 million to move on out the door. So not a huge thing there, but just a notable coaching move and another job that is now open.
On one thing, college football, Tommy Rees, who's at Notre Dame, and they kept him, and he was getting big money offers from LSU.
Chose to stay.
Yeah, he is now flying around in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish jet as if you'd see a head coach flying around in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish jet. So that's I saw that picture from him. Show goes on. That's pretty cool for him, too.
Yeah, that is cool. Miami is looking for an AD. Big athletic director search going on now. But I mentioned this because I know Florida State's also searching for an AD. Mm-hmm. But Brett McMurphy had a really interesting tweet. He said multiple Miami AD candidates told Action Network headquarters, UM's search is a mess. With more than 50 board of trustees and several donors involved, everyone is in charge. No one is in charge. They don't know what they want to do with Manny Diaz. Half want him gone. Half want him to stay. And then Dennis Dodd actually responded to that and said, was told the number of trustees is 68. And the same word was used, mess, by a person approached about the AD job.
Well, if you want to know why Miami doesn't do well in sports anymore, That's why, especially in football, because you have to have alignment from top to bottom. And even so, you can have if you have a university president that you think might be a good leader, if they have to answer to 68 trustees, the 68 trustees, I use this analogy all the time, but you couldn't, if I walked into the room and said, okay, free pizza for everybody, but just to keep it simple, we have to agree on 3 separate toppings. So I'll be back in 20 minutes and you guys tell me which 3 toppings we want. There would be blood on the floor over pizza for 68 people. It's ridiculous. You need about 9.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So we'll see where Miami goes, but it doesn't sound very promising when you got that many voices for one choice. Brett McMurphy announced NCAA's added a 42nd bowl game. That's what we were all clamoring for. Screw the playoff change. We want more bowl games that don't have any bearing on it. But the NCAA, a 42nd bowl game. So that will mean that all 84 teams that are eligible will be able to play in a bowl game. The game will be in Texas, no exact location, no date determined, but it will air on ESPN. And this bowl game will be Hawaii, or this new bowl game will allow Hawaii to play in the Hawaii Bowl versus Memphis. So future, perhaps Big 12 member Memphis. That still remains to be seen, but that will allow for the Hawaii Bowl, Hawaii versus Memphis, and we're a lot of details, but a new Texas Bowl. For those that love bowl games.
Hey, we got a stadium right here.
Hey, the Waco Bowl. That'd be the Magnolia Bowl.
Let's get the hotel money. Let's go.
Are we on the internet so I could say anything I want?
Yeah, sure.
That's just ridiculous.
That's what you were going to say?
No, I was going to say. I said
they're just trying to get
say ridiculous.
There's teams eligible, so they're just trying to get teams to play. I get it, though. I get it. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, really, it's just kind of silly how many teams there are and how many games there are. I mean, that's something that's definitely gotten way too bloated over the years. All right, hammering through some other stories. Lincoln Riley, USC, we know it's been a big deal, all week long, ever since late Saturday night. And the changes keep on coming for USC and for Oklahoma, and that includes on the recruiting trail. OU's had a massive exodus, at least it feels massive in reading the tweets of guys who have entered the transfer portal, key players on this past year's team, and not to mention some other guys who have now been flipping commitments or decommitting. And Lincoln Riley grabbed another one from that OU commit list as a 5-star running back, Raleek Brown, has flipped from Oklahoma to USC. This is not a shocking flip because he is a California guy. He's from Santa Ana. Went to Mater D High School, or is it Mater Day?
Mater Day
High School. So he's right. I mean, again, this is Riley and that California connection, man. That's why that made so much sense. Is just how much recruiting he does in Cali, especially with the top prospects. So now he's flipped a 5-star running back, and Oklahoma is just trying to stem the bleeding while they can until whoever the next coach is announced.
Yeah, his tweet was pretty cool. I saw it. It was "Mom, I'm staying home," and then an infographic that rivaled like a movie poster. So
yeah. All right, a couple of other notes, and then the big coaching rumor. That's not a head coaching rumor by any means, but just is of interest. Texas Tech announced today a $25 million gift for a new south end zone. They also have, like a facility that they're going to be building as well for the football program. It looks like a $25 million gift from the Board of Regents, and former letter winner Cody Campbell will kick off the fundraising. It's a 3-part master plan, with the big part of it being the south end zone construction to Jones AT&T Stadium. They're still discussing various concepts, and there's a lot of details still to be sorted out, but big time, projects moving forward over at Texas Tech. Meanwhile, Texas has announced that they're getting even more into the NIL. For one, running back Bijan Robinson announced that he's got an NIL deal with DAZN, the network that you might see a lot of boxing on. Said he's a big boxing fan, and so basically he's going to be like a spokesperson for DAZN, and I guess that will tie into his love of boxing or combat sports. He's going to be, I guess the official title is a brand ambassador. So if you watch that channel, then maybe you see Bijan on a commercial or something like that, but that is his latest NIL deal. So that's kind of outside the box and kind of cool. Yeah. But Texas also announced the Clark Field Collective. It's a $10 million name, image, likeness fund. Basically, this is our pool of money to pay blue chips, is what this is. But just with an official title to make it sound as legitimate as possible. Bijan, I just said he's got the endorsement deal with DAZN, and he's got several other deals as well. But sports marketer Nick Shuley announced Wednesday a partnership called the Clarkfield Collective that will help facilitate NIL opportunities with Texas athletes. Prominent donors, Austin business leaders, and former players like Kenny Vaccaro, basketball star TJ Ford will help oversee what's starting out as a $10 million commitment. And their goal is to have the largest fund in the country dedicated to NIL activities for Texas athletics.
That Clarkfield Collective sounds kind of like Stratford Oakmont, from Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
They call it like it just sounds so official.
Yeah. They've had other guys. Cameron Dicker got a boot deal. And you had, Bijan obviously with a bunch as well. But, more NIL stuff is coming UT's way. And it may have something to do with this guy. Y'all been looking at the rumors surrounding Gary Patterson?
Yes.
And UT and the possibility that he could be joining the Longhorn staff. Now, I want to say this. There are going to be other options for Gary Patterson. It's not like this is some done deal, but there is a lot of smoke on the Texas side of things about the potential of Gary Patterson joining their staff in some capacity. I don't know, what all the other talk has been, but I would think like defensive coordinator would make a lot of sense, even though we were told by Texas fans they had, the greatest, how could you not know about Coach K? And, maybe he's on his way out after 1 year. I don't know. Maybe there's another role for Patterson, but what do you think? Gary Patterson, he never liked Texas. He hated Texas when he was at TCU, but hey, you're not at TCU anymore, so.
His old boss is the AD there.
Yep.
And Chris Del Conte.
Yep.
The other thing is, he may hate Texas, but he's also a spiteful little son of a gun too.
Oh, yeah.
And what better way, because I'm sure he doesn't feel he was rightfully pushed out at TCU. So what better way to get back at them than to go to Texas? Of course, he'll only play them one time before they leave, or maybe two. But
any thoughts on anything?
I would. Gary Patterson's a hell of a football coach. That wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know if that's the right thing to do. If UT's pretty good about when somebody beats them, they'll go find them.
Oh, there you go. Hire him.
I do think this though. I don't know, and maybe he'd be different because he's older and all that, but. If I'm the head coach of a football team, I'm not sure I want Gary Patterson as an assistant.
Hey, look, Sarkisian in the position that he's in, if he starts out next year and he's like 3-3, what stops interim head coach Gary Patterson at you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, absolutely, that has to be taken into consideration. I mean, that's for Sark to decide and ultimately for Gary Patterson to decide, what job he wants to take. But he's going to have a job somewhere in some capacity. That much is a given. And just a couple more notes here. ECU, East Carolina, announced they've extended head football coach Mike Houston through the 2026 season. So while a lot of people are announcing changes, ECU announces stability with Mike Houston. And finally, the MLB is locked out. We saw this coming. We knew this was coming, but it's officially the first work stoppage for Major League Baseball since the 94-95 strike. And we saw in the build-up to this a flurry of mega deals, and even the Rangers got in on the action, which is very unlike them, quite frankly, over the last few years. But, Paul, here's baseball stepping on its own toes again.
We knew it was coming, and hopefully it'll be a good thing in the long run. I'm glad they're doing it now before the season, and they've got plenty of time to get this worked out before any real time is lost if they're smart about it. I have no faith in Rob Manfred, though, as the commissioner.
I don't either.
The one thing is, I don't think people liked Bud Selig, but you kind of knew Bud Selig was a get-it-done guy. He knew, okay, what's best for the overall thing? Let's get it done. And whatever I didn't like about Bud Selig, I knew that as a baseball fan, that he would at least get things done. I have no faith in Rob Manfred to do that.
I don't either. I don't trust his leadership. I don't trust his vision of baseball. I know baseball needs changes, but I'm not sure he's the guy to get them there. And it just seems like his whole tenure has kind of just been more negative than anything else, and now you add this onto it. First work stoppage since '94,
and I don't think he and Tony Clark, who's the head of the Players Union, I don't think he and Tony see eye to eye on anything. So I expect this to be, this isn't Gene Upshaw and Paul Tagliabue, who had a very good working relationship and in spite of different issues got things done. And I know there's Gene Upshaw left a lot of things on the table for the NFL players, but this is not that kind of working relationship, and that's what worries me.
Nope, and just wanted to mention that before this stoppage occurred, I mentioned, free agency and all the big deals, more than $1.4 billion were committed to free agents in baseball in the build-up to their work stoppage. And
$500 million of the Rangers.
Yeah, $500 million of the Rangers. And there was one signing that I never asked you about, Paul, but what did you think of Max Scherzer to the Mets?
I love Max Scherzer. He's one of my favorite players to watch. He's really intense. Good for the Mets. I think that's, you lost a big time pitcher, but you brought in one with some World Series experience and a guy that elevates the level of your entire team. So yeah, good for the Mets. I was holding out hope that maybe the Red Sox would sign him. Didn't happen. It's fine. He's 37 years old, so This is the last go of it for Max Scherzer, but he's still very effective, and he's still a bulldog out there. So good for the Mets.
Yep, and finally tonight, Dallas Cowboys football against the New Orleans Saints. My sister and her boyfriend actually in New Orleans right now going to that game. But yeah, tonight 5-6 Saints hosting the 7-4 Cowboys. 7:20 kickoff Central Time. And there are a few things off the radar.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. And speaking of the NFL, John McClain, Hall of Fame writer from the Houston Chronicle, will join us. He'll join us next, in fact, on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. All right, Pioneer Still in Pipe. I have this, where did I put it? I knew as soon as I would pick it up. I was talking to one of the owners, Braden, one of the great people that handles the marketing, in fact, at Pioneer Still in Pipe, Braden Embry, and I said, hey, what are you on the update in Waco? Warehouse and office building now fully framed, now sheeting the walls. I had to be careful the way I read that. It's really starting to take shape. You can now see the sheer sides of the building from the road. And I know you've mentioned this in ads, but the size of the building and the property is going to be a game changer for our business. We have always prided ourselves on service, and now we'll be able to carry much more inventory and also still have more efficient loading process that will save customers even more time, and that's what matters to the customers. We don't have yet an official move-in date, but we're hoping for late spring. That's from Braden Embry, who, of course, handles the marketing for Pioneer Steel and Pipe. It's a great family business, multiple families that have been the heart and soul since 1943. Since 1943, they've been in business, and they continue to thrive. And now they have this new building where they'll only get bigger, better, faster, stronger, but never lose sight. Two things. One, you, and two, great product. And now they can have more product and better distribution time and access. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, locations in Waco and Bryan since 1943. PioneerBoys.com.
Get an early start with the Big Finish sales event going on now at Allen Samuels with the new 2021 Ram 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab. Ram, the winner of the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab offers style and dependability for any job. It's the Big Finish sales event going on now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Genco has extended their offer till the end of the year. Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months. And have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. You can't pass on rates this low and make no payments for 90 days. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and Best in Metal, Steel, and Pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Hall of Fame writer, Hall of Fame voter, John McClain, Houston Chronicle with us, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Let's start with Antonio Brown. John, we asked you about this. Also another Edwards, a cornerback. Both have been suspended. It didn't take the NFL long to do this, huh?
Sure didn't. You wonder how Aaron Rodgers was escaped as easily as he did. Antonio Brown's a multiple offender, so everybody knew it was coming.
John, do you think that this will be any kind of – will other teams have to, look into this now that Antonio Brown got in trouble, or will the NFL kind of want this to go away?
Paul, they'd like to think it was an isolated incident. I don't think they want to know the truth, that multiple players on every team could be using fake cards. And you can't find that out overnight. So I don't know what avenue they're going to go down. But I'll guarantee you they don't want to suspend a lot of players right here at crunch time when they're deciding playoff races.
John, your Baylor Bears, I want to start off with that, playing for a Big 12 championship game this weekend. Dave Aranda's done an excellent job, obviously, and was one of the hot names that was being thrown around for a lot of these coaching jobs, but it appears he's going to be staying in Waco, now playing Oklahoma State this Saturday. We know you've been high on this season so far, but playing for a title, what does that mean to you?
Well, of course, it means everything. In fact, if they could beat the Cowboys and not get swept like they did with Oklahoma 2 years ago. And the thing about Baylor, I don't know, maybe you guys do because you're right there, but going back to when Tom Stanton was the athletic director and they made this humongous upgrade in their facilities, I don't remember them losing a coach they wanted to keep for money. When Art Browse last year, he was about to going to make $7 million. The next year, now Dave Aranda may be up in that area. They're going to do what it takes to keep him if he wants to be there. And, if a coach doesn't want to be there, you don't want him, and it's pretty obvious Aranda does want to be there, and I think everybody in Baylor Nation is happy about that.
This week, since the Lincoln Riley story, since the Brian Kelly story, among others, it's been a chaotic week in college football. Has that registered at all anywhere within the NFL?
No, NFL's too busy about the playoffs. The NFL coaches' salaries are kept quiet for the most part. Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk, he's got some people at the league office that have given him some ideas about how they get paid. And they said a lot of the money they get comes on side deals where Bill Belichick people think he's making 13 to 15. and he's well over 20 because of a lot of side deals with him with Robert Kraft. There's no salary cap for coaches, so they can pay whatever they want. But I tell you what, where it's going to reverberate is in Georgia and Alabama. If they see what these other coaches are making, Kirby Smart and Nick Saban should be the top of the list that wants to renegotiate because they deserve to be more than Lincoln Riley and Ryan Kelly.
Which one was a bigger shock to you?
Well, both of them. I tell you something I got a big kick out of. Several of my friends who are diehard Sooner fans, they were just so devastated. They said, it's outrageous. It's not fair. They did all this clandestine negotiations and they didn't tell anybody and they kept it quiet. And then they just shocked us with it. I said, kind of like Oklahoma and Texas did the SEC and Big 12. And they're like, oh, yeah. And so I you know what? I'll guarantee you, Lincoln Riley, he knows it's a hell of a lot easier to win in the Big 12 than it is to go into the SEC. That's something Jimbo Fisher's finding out. Aggies 8-4, 4-4 in the division, and so it's hard to win over there. Kelly had standards he had to meet at Notre Dame, a lot of academic standards, and I don't know if there's any standards other than winning at LSU, where the whole state, including the politicians, are all behind the program. So I could see him leaving. But at his age, 60, at that point, he's thinking this is going to be the last job. And he didn't give Notre Dame a chance to match. And I think he'll go down there. And now he'll be the new king of Louisiana, just like Nick Saban is the king of Alabama and Kirby Smart, king of Georgia. But the thing about USC, it's a whole lot easier to win out there, too. Plus, they got such a great recruiting bed there in the LA area. I think Lincoln Riley will do great. Hopefully he won't be like Pete Carroll and get him put on probation.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's the thing to watch out for. John, the Texans 2-9, got the Colts coming up, had the touchdown loss to the Jets last week, but sickness going around, is that right? They had to cancel practices?
Yeah, but they're back today. It was a one-day thing. There was no positive test. It's a lot of players with flu, and they didn't want them around each other, so they did everything virtually like they did at the start of last year, where players stayed at home, did their interviews with us. It's just like old times, talking to them on Zoom, but they're back working for the Colts. Colts beat them 31-3 the first game with Davis Mills, and they come in here with the leading rusher in the NFL, Jonathan Taylor, and it's funny, Texans are last in the league against the run, but he's the only back set 100 yards.
Go ahead, Paul.
John, would you be surprised if the Colts wind up winning that division given all the injuries the Titans have?
No, but yes, Paul, and here's why. Because the Titans have a 2-game lead, and they swept the Colts. So really, you got a 3-game lead. It would take a monumental collapse. What the Titans need, they just ran for 270 yards at New England with 2 backup running backs, Dontrell Hilliard and Deontay Foreman. So they still run the ball. They need Ryan Tannehill to get back A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. They're supposed to be back for the stretch drive, but Tannehill has not played very well because he doesn't have his receivers. And then their defense was terrible at New England. So what their injuries to Derek Brown, yes, of course they miss him. But when you rush for 270 yards, how much are you missing him? Now, if they could do that consistently, they'll win some more games. I expect them to win the game. And if they get Brown and Jones back at wide receiver, they can do some serious damage, but I don't think they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
So right now there are 4 teams in the NFL, the Ravens, Packers, Buccaneers, who have 2 losses or 3, and Arizona 9-2. And there are still, for some teams, 6 games left, and for some there are 5. Normally there's somebody that runs away and hides, and there are some teams that might do that in divisions, but it doesn't appear as if there's a great team. Or am I saying that because perhaps the name of Arizona hasn't been really in that mix in a while or in a long time? Is there a great team?
No, there's not a great team. Even the Cardinals, now, to their credit, they were 2-1 without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. They're coming off a bye week and they're back. They should be healthy for the stretch drive. Another team, New England's won 6 in a row. They're averaging 35 points a game. The Chiefs have won 4 in a row, and they're giving up 11 points a game. To me, seeing the Chiefs play that kind of defense, because we know Patrick Mahomes is going to play well, that to me makes them the best team in the AFC over New England, because New England still has a rookie quarterback, and I just don't see the Patriots going to the Super Bowl. They play the Bills Monday night in Buffalo, and 2 weeks later they play the Bills at Gillette Stadium. So this is a great time of the year. The crunch time of December now stretched 2 weeks into January. It's just, other than the playoffs, it's the people say the most wonderful time of the year. Yes, it is, because it's crunch time.
So, John, one of the names that I saw, and look, it's social media, and it's college coaching carousel, so there's going to be just rumors left and right, and some have some substance and some don't. But one of the hot names that I was seeing amongst Oklahoma fans who were discussing their opening was Carolina Panthers and former Baylor head coach Matt Rule, and we shot that down. But what are your thoughts on where the Panthers are right now with Matt Rule? There's some fans obviously unhappy with the results up to this point. How do you kind of view his time so far and what it looks like moving forward?
He's been there 2 years. He missed his best player almost all last year. Now Christian McCaffrey's out again. That's not his fault. You know, they have problems with quarterback. I think they'll make an all-out effort to get Deshaun Watson in the offseason. And Matt Rule wanted to go to the NFL. I knew he wanted to go to the NFL. I used to tell you guys he wants to go to the NFL, and he did. And I'm sure if he got fired at the NFL, he would go back to college football unless he had another offer. But he got a 6-year contract for like almost $60 million a year. And having rumors out there like that are not all bad, as Dave Aranda knows. Some of my friends here were complaining, why wouldn't Aranda come out and do like Mike Tomlin did? And I said, because the quieter he stays, the more millions he's going to make. Just let the media do your job for you, and then your agent behind the scenes. And that's exactly what's happened. So I wouldn't think Matt Rule would say absolutely, positively, I'm not going, unless if he's trying to get more money. I can't imagine he is, because he doesn't deserve it. So a guy like Matt ought to come out and say it. But since you're not recruiting, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And the league year doesn't start till March 16th, when you can make trades and sign free agents. So I think he'll be right there. What he needs is to get a great quarterback, and he is situated 198 miles from Deshaun Watson's hometown.
So would you put them in the lead for Deshaun Watson?
No, Miami still would be, because Watson had said he wants to go to Miami. It's the only place he would approve. But Carolina never made a firm offer. We knew they were interested. And if they make a firm offer, then they got to say to him, would you go to Carolina? I said all along, let Matt Rule talk to him. Let him actually talk, because you guys know what a great talker he is. It never got to that point. He's got to get his legal issues cleared up. He's got to reach settlements. They just started depositions this week, and nothing can happen anyway. And when he gets traded, I think it'll be close to the first day of the draft on April 28th. But I really believe Carolina will be right in it, because there's not a great quarterback in this draft, at least not now.
So, John, tonight, Cowboys and Saints, and there's a lot of moving parts to this game. I mean, you got the Cowboys, you get DeMarcus Lawrence and Amari Cooper back. You got the Saints with no Alvin Kamara. Taysom Hill's going to be starting at quarterback for them. They've got a couple of other injuries as well. Your thoughts on Cowboys and Saints tonight at the Superdome in New Orleans?
Those couple other injuries, Craig, are just their offensive tackles. And Taysom Hill's going to have to run a lot. We'll find out what the big deal is about him. It's about time they played him. If you're going to pay him, play him. Let's see what he's got. So that makes it more interesting from a New Orleans perspective. But I expect the Cowboys are going to win this game handily.
John, your Baylor Bears and Oklahoma State, as Craig brought up earlier. How about that? Twice in 3 years, two different coaches coming off, 1-11. 2 years later, they play Oklahoma head-to-head right up to the last seconds, and now going off 2-7. They're back in the game against, this time, Oklahoma State. How proud are you?
I am a proud Baylor alum, and I keep saying, how about those fighting Baylor Bears? I'd love to see them beat the Cowboys, losing 10 early in the season in Stillwater. No shame in that. I can't wait to see if Bohannon's back. Do you stick with Chapin? You can't bring a quarterback back who's not 100% from a hamstring injury, any player really, because you run the risk of aggravating it and making it worse. And I'll tell you what I learned about Chapin, and you guys might have already known it. When he was running full speed on the sideline and those two guys hit it, I told my buddy Lester Zed, we were watching in my house, I said, he's going to have a concussion and broken ribs, and we won't see him again this season. And then when he staggered off, I thought, well, maybe we'll see him this season. He came back on the next play. That has got to inspire his teammates on both sides of the ball and special teams. And that guy, his toughness is incomparable of anything I've ever seen a quarterback get hit like that going full speed.
I thought he was dead. I didn't know. I couldn't see because there's a lot of bodies around him. But he told someone, who was it? Someone went over to the other side. Aranda said this in his post game. They said, "Hey, are you okay?" He goes, "I'm effing fine," or something like that. Even Aranda was giggling about that. And 2 or 3, 4 plays later, he ran the zone read and picked up a big first down. I
wondered if he knew what planet he was on after that. Because it wasn't like it was just one player; it was 2 players.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And that was. I've seen a lot of hard hits in my almost 50 years covering football, but I've never seen 2 guys hit one guy full speed so hard, and then him bounce back up the way he did and come back. I'm so happy for Jalen Petrie to be Defensive Player of the Year. They ought to put a statue of him outside the stadium because he's the only recruit who didn't bail. And I'm hoping his stock will continue to go up in the NFL. They already like him. Being a safety and having that many tackles for loss, the NFL will eat that up. So congratulations to Jalen Petrie, who I know is from down here. Because I think every Baylor fan owes him a debt of gratitude.
Thank you, John.
Sick 'em, guys.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle, Hall of Fame writer, voter, with us on Tuesdays normally, but Tuesday we had so much college football crazy that John said he wouldn't mind moving back a couple of days, and we still have college football crazy. Virginia, Bronco Mendenhall out. Colorado State, who'd you say it was? Colorado State out, and the coaching carousel. Ross Dellinger earlier today put up a note on his Twitter feed. There is now $90 million in dead money from the coaching changes this year alone. $90 million in buyout money, and that doesn't include, we're not even done yet. The season just ended for most, and there's still the championship week coming up.
Oklahoma's got to hire somebody. If they hire another head coach, then there's another job that opens up.
Yeah. I've made this offer for years. I will take 5% of what you're paying in a buyout not to coach the team after the guy you fired. Just give me some of that money.
And they get what out of that?
I mean, I'm not coaching their team and messing up their school.
Pay you not to coach?
Pay me not to coach.
They're doing that, but the other guys did coach a little bit at least before.
I mean, that's like in the weeds.
Yeah.
I just want the money.
Nice. It'd be nice to rake in cash like that. It sure would.
If they'd only listened to you.
I know. I got that call from SpaceX. I thought it was my time.
Yeah, no, they didn't call you. They were calling a number, and they dialed one number wrong.
No, look.
Did they leave a voicemail?
They did not.
Did they say, "Hey, Paul, this is Paul Bunyan from SpaceX. We'd like, or Elon Musk or whatever. We need you to call us. We need your idea."
I mean, the call's coming one day. You just mark my words.
There is a story at LSU. Mickey Joseph, who's been on their staff, and among others, is going to join Scott Frost's staff. And some of you on the chat room mentioned that. He's from Marrero, Louisiana. He played quarterback, an option quarterback, the option back when Nebraska ran the triple option in the I formation at Nebraska, I think 88 to 91. He was pretty good. But that was also when Colorado was at their best and lost to them a couple of different times during that stretch. But I always liked Mickey Joseph, hell of a recruiter. So he's headed to Lincoln to try to help clean up that mess as well. The question is who's going to join them in the transfer portal if they get somebody at quarterback, because their cupboard for quarterbacks is bare. All right, when we come back, more 254-339-1122. We'll talk Baylor, Oklahoma State tomorrow. I've said this to you. We've had some guys, writers that are too busy, whatever. We will have, no matter what, we'll have segments tomorrow. J.J. Joe joins us, among some others, Grayson, Sam Bradshaw. We'll have a couple of different segments to focus in on Georgia and Alabama as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. All right, I was by Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans earlier today. Saw Cheyenne, and also Ashley. I was going to say Carol, and Cheyenne and said Carol. I saw both of them. They were there. They're 48-foot walk in Humidor. Ashley looked at me. She goes, we have some of the most high upper end cigars in our 48-foot walk-in humidor we've ever had. Ever. And they've had great ones. But they have a lot because it's Christmas shopping, things to put as stocking stuffers, a box of cigars. I got myself a box of Ashton cigars, and man, they look fantastic. And thanks to Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne for that. Also, holiday coffees have arrived. I told you I've had one sip of coffee in my life. It was Paul's fault. We're in Albuquerque. Starbucks was right behind us. We're in the lobby of a hotel or in this little area, and he gets coffee, and they thought they gave me hot chocolate. It was coffee. Also,
true. Coffee. I don't drink coffee.
Oh, you drank that.
Hot dirt.
New cigars are also arriving. Cohiba, Nicaragua, Cohiba, Connecticut, 2 high-level cigars. Humidor filled like never before. You can also, if you don't know what a cigar someone likes to smoke, you can get a gift card from them as well. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off of Valley Mills in Waco.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sic 'em Bears.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is it. This is when you're going to sell something in May. You have Mother's Day. You have Easter. You have things that go on, weddings. But this is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did in a state yesterday, and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her, and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
We'll have Paul Catalina's top 5 in about 20 minutes. We have been asked by the site, by Colt Barber, who puts up every weekend our predictions of Baylor and Oklahoma State. Let's on the chat room, 254-339-1122 text line as well. And I know we have a lot of Oklahoma State fans, a bunch, and that's great. We love it. I'm trying to look at this like right here. I have contacts on. My eyes are not the same. My ears are absolutely not the same. Oklahoma State allowed 24 points once. They lost to Iowa State. Baylor allowed 24 points, I think, 3 or 4 times. They gave up 24 to Oklahoma State, lost. They gave up 24 to Texas and Brigham Young, and they won. They gave up 24 to Texas Tech, and they won. And then, of course, they gave up 29 to Iowa State and 30, which is still the hickey, to TCU. How can you look at this game? Baylor's won 3 straight. Oklahoma, Kansas State, tough-ass games. Texas Tech as well. And Oklahoma State, of course, has won every game since they lost to Iowa State. How can you look at this game? What makes you think, other than the game when they played was tight, that Baylor wins this game? And we're going to go the other way around as well.
Okay, I picked Baylor, and 23-20 is what I picked. I think there's a lot of emotion that goes into winning against your rival for the first time in what probably felt to them like 1,000 years. And having to get up again for the Big 12 championship game, a little tough. And I've got kind of a sneaky suspicion. I have nothing other than I think this is going to be, another bare knuckle brawl. It's going to be a close game all the way. I just think that maybe something weird happens. I'm not going to give you an X and O reason why Baylor shouldn't. All the X and O reasons are Oklahoma State, really, because they've been the better team all year long, really. But I just got a feeling. That's it.
Krager?
What's the question?
Why would Baylor win this game?
With all the
I'm asking, what's the question?
What I said, when you look at Baylor has allowed 24 points 6 times during the year. And they've lost a couple of those to Oklahoma State and also TCU. Oklahoma State's allowed 24 points once, lost to Iowa State. When you look at that, plain evidence, why
gave up 33 last week?
You're right, 33 to Oklahoma. You're right. What is the reason Baylor wins on Saturday?
I don't have a lot of reasons. That's why I picked Oklahoma State. Baylor could win on Saturday. Reasons why I believe that they could win on Saturday is just that they're a really good football team, for one. I don't think Oklahoma State is just significantly better than them in any area. I mean, it'd be one thing if Oklahoma State had this, incredible defense and Baylor was just a middle-of-the-road defense, but they got a pretty good defense too. I don't think Oklahoma State's offense is that much better than Baylor's offense, or even, I don't know, you could probably put them pretty evenly, quite frankly. So I think the nod just goes to Oklahoma State has an overall better defense, and just overall as a team you would lean their way. But I have hope for Baylor because I don't think that they're that much further back. You know what? Does that make sense?
No,
I think they're pretty even teams overall. So that alone, you put them on a football field at a neutral site with a championship on the line, anything can happen. I mean, that's how they can win this football game. I mean, X's and O's wise, no, I'm not going to say that they are going to be able to win because Gary Bohannon or Blake Shapen are able. No, they're not going to. There's not anything there that I can cling on to. I mean, it's simply going to come down to just who plays a cleaner football game. I mean, in my opinion, it's going to be who has the back-breaking penalties or doesn't, who has the back-breaking turnovers or doesn't. And even then, Spencer Sanders had 3 of them in the first go-round, and it managed to turn into 0 Baylor points. So there's not a lot to hold on to here, other than just the fact they're pretty even. It was a pretty even game the last time around when all was said and done, because Baylor made their second half run. Now, their only points were mustered in about a 15-minute period. and less than that actual game time. They had the late score at the end of the third quarter with Abram Smith had finally busted out the big run, which he's going to have to do that again this week. And then they had a touchdown drive right after that. But before, for 3 3/4 quarters, they had nothing. And then for 75% of the fourth quarter, they had nothing. So I don't know, man. I mean, there's other than them just being on a neutral site with a championship and it's just 2 even teams, I mean, that's how Baylor can win. But I don't have anything like, Gary Bohannon or Abrams. I don't have any of that. No, I don't. And I don't have a lot. And Oklahoma State can win because they're just a slightly better team with a slightly better defense.
Here's some stats that jump out at me. And I'm not a stats guy very often. I used to be. Oklahoma State won by 10, and it was at home, and they lost the turnover battle 3-0.
Yeah.
That means something to me. 219 yards rushing to 107, and Abram Smith had 50-plus on 1 carry. That's a dominant stat sheet. Now, sometimes stats can lie, but Oklahoma State had a 401 to 280 and 50-something on the Abram Smith. Yes, Oklahoma State was hanging on, and then the Matt Jones penalty put them over the top. Golly,
it all points towards them. I mean, it does. There's no problem in saying that. It all points towards Oklahoma State. They dominated that first football game. Now, this is not the same Baylor team since then, and I think that they learned a lot from that Oklahoma State game. Now, they certainly didn't apply it in Fort Worth a few weeks later because they needed another reminder, and that's why they don't have a playoff spot potentially, even if they win this weekend. So, I mean, it all favors Oklahoma State on paper and based on the eye test that we saw earlier this year. But then again, that was 2 months ago. I know Oklahoma State hasn't gotten any worse, and they've probably gotten better. Spencer Sanders, obviously, when he's on, and he was on at times last week, he's one hell of a player. So you can't bank on him throwing 3 picks again. But, yeah, man, I think this is a game where Baylor's going to have to find points where they can, and I'd imagine that's going to be a lot of field goals potentially because I don't see them getting down in the red zone and just making magic happen against this defense. So I think you're going to need some big plays, and if you get some turnovers, you're going to have to actually score points off of those turnovers. But, yeah, I don't know. There's not just like a proven method for beating Oklahoma State.
3-point lead with 12 minutes left, and then it ended up being 24-14. Oklahoma State, with Sanders threw 3 picks. Is that right? Yeah, threw 3 picks, a couple of them deep in the Baylor territory, and they still won the game. Now, maybe home field advantage offsets some of that as well. I've been looking forward to this. No, I did not think. In fact, I said when Gary Bohannon threw the pick on the sideline that ended the game with TCU, I said Baylor's chance to win a Big 12 title just died. I was wrong. I don't care. I did. That's what I thought because it was such a bad loss. Not that you don't have those.
Well, and Oklahoma was coming off of starting to look pretty good.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is there, and they're on the up, and then Oklahoma rolls into Waco, and Baylor just physically mauled them.
They play that game. They beat Oklahoma State. And that doesn't mean it's a given. But that's, I love the way they battled against Kansas State, overcame the loss of their quarterback. Just a fun, it's a refreshing game. It's refreshing. Yes, Baylor was there 2 years ago and lost to Oklahoma in 2 games that were both down to the wire. Oklahoma State back in it. Good for Mike Gundy. I think it's great, Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State, along with what Baylor's done. Iowa State with Matt Campbell. What Patterson did for many, many years. And what Oklahoma on and off did. I thought Oklahoma's defense against Oklahoma State, despite giving up 37, I thought their defense played out of their gourd with disruptive plays on the front 7 for Oklahoma and had that game, it seemed like, sealed. Both teams with bad turnovers, too. I love the fact that this game, I don't have to sit there and think it's going to be who can score 50. I think this could be 24-20, 21-17, and it would be great to see both of them get a chance to win a Big 12 title. I really do. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think if you're a person who really loves wide open offense, this game's not probably going to be.
By the way,
did
you see a dumb comment from Spencer Petras, the Iowa quarterback? He made mention of, gosh, what was it? He was asked about something, and I had to go back and find it. But he mentioned, this isn't like the Big 12. We actually play defense. It was something along those lines. And I was like, I understand you play on Saturdays, so you don't get to watch a lot. But this is the dumbest year to ever say that. That just tells me, or just further confirms to me, that people just read stuff and they just soak it in as though it's
lazy.
And look, I'm not blaming a kid or a young man who's busy playing college football for not knowing everything about college football, but the whole Big 12 doesn't play defense thing, you just sound like you don't know what you're talking about when you say that this year in particular, because that's all the Big 12 does is play defense. That is what they do, is they play defense better than anything else that they do, including offense, because that is not their bread and butter anymore. So I thought that was just kind of emblematic of still a stereotype of the conference that's been around for several years. But if you're going around saying that, just know that you sound dumb to people who actually watch it, because it's not like that anymore.
Other than Oklahoma, Texas and Texas Tech early on, when it was 70-35, have we seen even like 2 or 3 examples of that?
No. 37-33 in Bedlam last week was more indicative of a couple of really bad special teams plays and some turnover. I mean, those kind of muff punts.
Easy scores.
So it wasn't.
All right, let's go to the chat room to close out the segment, and you guys pop on when you can. Oklahoma State from Nohami. I don't know if that's saying your name right. Number 3 defense in the country, there's no question. They are an elite defense. Baylor's is good too, but they have had a couple of times when it slipped away. Donnie Hand, who's an Oklahoma State fan, Baylor wins if they are able to take advantage of Oklahoma State's weak secondary. From Andrea Cameron, Baylor wins 30-24.
That's something they are going to have. I'm not saying Oklahoma State secondary is weak, but I think that's one area where maybe they haven't been challenged fully because their run defense is so dadgum good and they're just so disruptive. But the Baylor receivers, Tyquan Thornton is going to, they're all going to have to make tough catches. They're going to have to make tough catches. They are going to have to be physical. And at times the Baylor receivers haven't been that way. But they have no choice if they want any chance of success, because Baylor's not just going to line up and run the football. They tried that in the first game, and you saw what happened. Not even close to 100 yards without that late third quarter Abram Smith touchdown. They barely have 50 rushing yards. So that's not going to cut it, obviously. It's a little bit concerning with Blake Shapen back there just because of his inexperience.
If that's who plays.
But even then, Gary Bohannon didn't play well in the first game when these two teams played.
And now his hamstring is...
And if he can't run, then what's the point? Honestly, he's not that great of a thrower to where you go like, oh, well, he doesn't need to. No, Gary Bohannon needs to run to be as effective as he can be. And the Petrus thing, he was saying this won't be like a big this Saturday won't be like a game like a Big 12 game for quarterbacks, is what he said.
2 players from Oklahoma State did make the All-Big 12 defensive secondary with Jarek Bernard-Converse and also with Colby Harvell Peel, and then Petrie, of course, from Baylor. And on the second-team secondary, Oklahoma State, a third, 3/4 of their secondary, with Christian Holmes making second-team All-Big 12 as well.
But I think that's where you're going to have to hit them, is you're going to have to hit them through the air. That's the only way to open things up, and I don't know if they can do it consistently enough, but they have no choice. And if they can't do that on Saturday, well, then it's going to be a repeat of the last time these two teams played.
From Jim Wilhelm, Oklahoma State secondary, Donnie, you think is weak? Did you miss the All-Big 12 team today? I just mentioned that. I didn't know. Sam Kim, if the Pokes year, I think Baylor will need a lot of breaks to pull off the upset. Baylor will win because they're hungry. Beating Oklahoma took a bit out of Oklahoma State.
I do wonder about that a little bit, like just the kind of letdown of just the emotions of that game, because you do see that often. You see it, like look at UTSA just a couple of weeks ago, right? They had that big win. They had to pull out to stay unbeaten, and they turn right around and just get walloped. And so there is something to be said for emotions, but I don't know. I think this Oklahoma State team's pretty locked in on what they're doing. And I think just getting that win, as much as it probably took out of them in some ways, it put so much more back in them. So I'm not going to rely on that. Look, I'll say it again. Oklahoma State's got a lot in their favor in this game. And Baylor's going to basically have to play a perfect game or close to it and hope for some mistakes on the other side. Now, I'm not saying that like Oklahoma State's so dominant that Baylor's going to need breaks to keep it close or anything, but to win this game, I do think they're going to have some things go their way.
All right, Donnie talking about the possibility of putting pressure on Baylor and Gary Bohannon. I don't remember that game as far as sacks in that game, but
I don't know if they got one. They definitely pressured him a lot, but I don't know in terms of sacks if they even got one officially. They may have. I know. No, because they haven't given up a sack all year, right? Isn't that the Baylor offensive line? Wasn't that the stat I saw, or was that now over? I don't quite remember.
Damn, I didn't even think about that.
Okay.
Well, all right. When we come back, we will be on live, by the way, from AT&T Stadium on Saturday from 9 until 10:30. Armstrong and Jack will be there. All 3 of us will be there. We hope you're there on the chat room as well. 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $4,000 down, cash or trade. See dealer for details.
Hit the road and save on a reliable pre-owned vehicle from Richard Carr. Savings like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $211 a month or a 2014 Cadillac CTS sedan for $288 a month. Plus, we pay top dollar for your trade. All pre-owned cars and trucks go through a 172-point inspection. With multiple lenders, we say yes when others say no. Hit the road and save at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
All right. Top 5 CFP possibilities. So I thought we'd break down some of the ones that could happen. I think there's a couple more that could, but these are the ones I think that are probably the most likely. in whatever order you want to put them in. I just had to list 5 things today. So,
that's why it's called a top 5.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like it wasn't ascending. Sometimes it's ascending or descending, whatever. Number 5, and there's a common thread in all these: Georgia, Notre Dame, Baylor, and Michigan. That's if Baylor beats Oklahoma State, Cincinnati loses, Georgia wins, and Michigan wins.
You're telling me, you have Notre Dame in this list.
Yes.
Okay.
So that would mean Notre Dame, because Cincinnati loses and, you've got a couple other things going on, Notre Dame can jump in.
How about if Georgia beats Alabama by 3?
I still think Notre Dame gets in, because then you've got
No, I'm talking about Baylor.
Baylor?
I'm not a believer in Baylor making the playoffs.
I'm not either.
That's why they're only in one of these possibilities.
Yeah, I'm not a believer that there's enough room for them to make up. I just don't see it. Grayson tried to convince me earlier this week, and I know there's a way that in theory it could happen, but I'm not buying it. I'll gladly eat crow, just like Oklahoma State had 3 sacks in the first game, which I couldn't remember. So they had 3 sacks, and I'm sure they'll probably have around that, if not more, on Saturday again. But yeah, that would be really interesting to see. I mean, Baylor amongst those 3 blue blood brands right there. But yeah, I think the chances are low for the Bears.
Okay, right. I'll throw this one out there: Georgia, who's, by the way, Georgia's in all these because they're in this thing, no matter. Unless Alabama somehow beats them by 70, which is not going to happen. But Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Notre Dame, that means that those games with those 3 that are already in go chalk. Oklahoma or Baylor beats Oklahoma State, and Notre Dame gets those votes because they're Notre Dame from the committee.
Where's Bama? How do they just get whooped by Georgia?
Yeah, Bama gets out because they lost to Georgia in whatever fashion they lost to Georgia.
Okay.
And they got 2 losses. So then you've got 2 undefeated teams and 2 one-loss teams in there.
No matter Oklahoma State, Baylor.
This is Baylor beats Oklahoma State.
Okay.
But the committee goes, well, good but not good enough Baylor. The Catholics win.
I mean, yeah, this is definitely more possible. Obviously, 3 of those teams are already lined up they're already in the top 4, so you just have to replace Bama with Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame you'd have to have Baylor win.
They would jump Oklahoma State, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because Baylor would win.
Yeah. Baylor would beat Oklahoma State.
That's how that keeps happening. So, yeah, I mean, that could, in theory, happen, yeah.
Why am I here?
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay, buddy.
You need Bama to drop a couple spots.
Yeah. Number 3. Georgia, Cincinnati.
This is different.
Oklahoma State and Alabama. This would be if Alabama beats Georgia, Oklahoma State beats Baylor, Cincinnati wins, and Iowa beats Michigan.
Yeah, I have so little faith in the Hawkeyes, though.
Yeah,
I mean, I really don't have a whole lot of hope.
Underdogs to Nebraska, and
God, I have very little. I mean, look, it could happen. Anything could happen, but that's the one I'm probably the least optimistic about, I think. But no, certainly this would be a very fun and interesting playoff. I mean, 2 Big 12 schools, so to speak, and 2 SEC schools, and yeah, I could see where this would happen. I mean, you laid it out, but I could see this happening.
Yeah, all right. Number 2, Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma State. This basically means everything goes chalk. Like, everybody wins. And
Georgia beats Alabama solidly enough. Oklahoma State beats Baylor.
Cincinnati,
and they stay ahead of Notre Dame and Ohio State or whoever else.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably the most realistic one. I mean, as far as what could happen the easiest because of Georgia beating Bama. Unless the committee just felt like again it's they lost by 1 in overtime or something like that. But yeah, I mean, move Bama out of the way, and that's who the top 4 are. So yeah.
So Georgia would play Oklahoma State, or is this in order?
Yes.
Okay, and Michigan, Cincinnati. Okay.
Yeah. Georgia plays Oklahoma State, and then, of course, they get to pick, which means they're not picking the Cotton Bowl. They'll pick the Orange Bowl and do that one. All right, number 1, Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Alabama, which,
no way that happens. Why is that not going to happen?
What do you mean?
Because they're not going to want Georgia to play Alabama in the semifinals.
Okay, so I should have flipped these around. I should have flipped those 2 around.
That's the only reason. The 4, yes.
Yeah, the 4, yes. But so it'd be Georgia. It would be Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Cincinnati. Yeah. So and Alabama, Michigan would probably play in the Cotton Bowl, and that place would be, which I think they did once. I think they did an opening weekend game there one time.
No, they did. I think they did. Yeah, Bama, Michigan, AT&T.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the top 4 right now, just reversed in some ways. I guess Cincy and Bama are flipped.
Yeah.
But outside of that, this is the top 4. So, yeah, I mean, this is I don't know. It would be kind of a bummer to see the top 4 relatively unchanged after a championship weekend. That means it was pretty mellow across the board if it just stays pat. But that is a very realistic option because I don't think anybody's – I mean, the Georgia-Bama game's the one that's the big, what could happen here. But I'm telling you right now, man, watch out for Houston. I mean, everybody keeps – I think everybody's well aware. But for real, I mean – I wouldn't be shocked to see Cincy beat them and beat them convincingly, but I also wouldn't be shocked to see Houston give them one hell of a run for their money either.
Yeah. It's fun because there's always a shot, and there's probably one in there that if you like algorithms, you know somebody spits it out.
I left out Ole Miss and Ohio State in this. There's probably some sort of weird chaos that would have to happen to get one of those two teams in, but. Yeah, I mean, I think Baylor of the 2 lost teams that could get in because Baylor's playing this weekend. I think Baylor's the one that could, again, give another chaos.
Oregon and Utah play Friday night. That won't have any bearing at all. No. Then you have the 11 o'clock Baylor, Oklahoma State, 3 o'clock Georgia, Alabama sets up the same time Houston and Cincinnati, and then that evening Michigan and Iowa.
Be really interesting. Let's say Georgia blew out Bama, Iowa beats Michigan. Houston beats Cincy, Baylor beats Oak State. I mean, that would be that you could who the top. Okay, let's say all that happened. Do you know who the top 4 would be?
Georgia,
Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Ole Miss.
Yeah,
and then Baylor would be right there too. And Baylor would have to hop over Ole Miss and Ohio State for a championship game.
If in fact the College Football Playoff Committee is not full of liars. 2014, a scenario happened where 2 teams didn't get in, TCU and Baylor, because they didn't have the latest data point.
Yeah.
And Ohio State and Ole Miss and Notre Dame, none of them are playing this week and wouldn't have one. So if any of them get in, that sure would be a freaking hypocritical thing if there ever was.
Well, that wouldn't be the first time they've been hypocrites. But, yeah, I mean, that would be the craziest scenario would be where you ended up with Georgia – Notre Dame, Ohio State, and possibly Baylor. Like that would be wild. But I'm not banking on that happening.
All right. When we come back, it's tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Jack McKenzie and Armstrong Sims. Armstrong, thank you, sir. Jack, thank you as well. Don't forget, go to Sikkim 365 Radio or in the chat room, the link to buy 365 Sports merchandise. Thanks to Brian Etheridge. We're back tomorrow. We'll have plenty of stuff to deal with, including a lot of what we've done. Gary Lewis put this up in the chat room. He's so right. When we went live in April of 2020, and we've been on this surge, and then you had Texas OU and SEC, and then you've had college football chaos, the timing of what we do and what you do with us has been phenomenal, exhilarating. Thank you. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.